Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio.
Welcome back to TexAgs Stacked. I'm Billy Lucci.
Olin Buchanan.
Make a mistake. We're not going anywhere. This is going to be a great program, and we're building it into a great program.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I stand by what we do and how we do it.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man. 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Is the offense a problem? How many meaningful games has A&M played? 4 quarters of offensive football. We'll talk about that here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. He's Olin Buchanan. I'm David Nuño. OB, how much of a concern is the offense in your opinion right now? The current state of the offense since SEC play, the amount of points this team is scoring, is it a concern for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thought so. Yeah.
On a scale from 1 to 10, might be a 9.
A 9?
Now,
considering how bad the big plays A&M has given up defensively, which means you may have to win some shootouts, is that the why behind it?
Not really. No, I just I look at the, again, I heard it again yesterday. Well, they're probably not going to play a better defense than you played last week. Is that what we're trying to do here? Be a team that, again, if the other team is good, then it's okay that your offensive line, again, has multiple busts and gets pushed around.
Before the Bama game, I thought the offensive line was moving in the right direction. There were still issues.
Mm-hmm.
There were still issues. I think the offensive line, as bad as they were in the second half against Bama, Max Johnson can share some of the blame because he did hold on to the ball way too much. Well, that's true.
But what I'm thinking about is a lot of the times the issues were, and there were some physical issues, but there were so many mental issues. And I go back to the first 4th down when, if you haven't gone back and watched it, everybody go back and watch it if you can. Max Wright, there's nobody within 10, 15 yards of him. It's going to be the easiest touchdown you're going to score all year. And I don't know where the bust was. I know where I think it was, but I don't know what the blocking assignments are. All I know is some guy from Alabama comes from the defensive line unimpeded right in Max's face. Now, I've heard some people, and I think this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because you'll remember that play, Max is under such severe pressure, he's just trying to get the ball. It's rid of the ball. It's 4th down.
Yep.
And he threw to his brother, and then there are those that, well, what do you think about the possibility that he didn't want to throw to Max because he wanted to get the ball to his brother? That is the stupidest. No. If you even have that kind of thought, you're too big of an idiot to go. You're too big of an idiot to be at A&M. Go to Texas. Be a fan of that program because that's just so monumentally stupid.
You don't have enough time to process that information. Right. Who's here? You're just throwing it.
The problem was somebody on the offensive line did not pick up a guy. It wasn't even a pickup. It looked like it was the guy that was on the line. Just flat left somebody to have a direct shot at your quarterback. That took away a perfect call. The call itself was perfect. It's going to be the easiest touchdown ever. And your offensive line misses it. And then when you add into those things that sometimes they just got bowled over, and then there were other busts too, missed assignments too,
yep.
And how often, Jimbo was saying on a 3rd down, well, we had a guy go the wrong way. You're midway through the freaking season. Why are guys going the wrong way on a big key play?
Well, let's go through some of these games. And look, I'm not pointing out New Mexico, Louisiana, Monroe. I'm talking about meaningful games, right?
Yeah.
Against Miami, they played one really good offensive half, right? Will you say the second half of the Miami game was really good offensive football?
I'd have to go back and remind myself.
That's the game they lost 48-33, and they scored. If I have this,
I know they had
they scored 16 points, and they scored 17 in the first half. So,
but you know what? Even that,
but they moved the ball much better.
But they didn't capitalize a lot of times in scoring position.
Okay, Auburn. They only had 6 points at the half, both field goals on their first 2 drives.
And one of those drives that got to the 10-yard line was interrupted. Why? False starts by your offensive line, 2 on 2 plays.
So 27 points. I'm trying to remember. There was no special teams touchdown in that one. That was just all offense, if I remember correctly. So 27 points in total. I'll take 30 points a game in the SEC. I want more, but I'll take 30. Just shy of that at 27. And, again, a first half where they didn't do much. The Arkansas game. I think they were pretty consistent throughout that game, offensively. I mean, scored in every quarter. I mean, pretty consistent.
Yeah.
I know one of those was obviously the Anias touchdown.
Punt return, yeah.
So, and also, by the way, the pick 6. Am I getting the game correct? No.
Yes, it was pick 6.
Pick 6. So 14 of your points. So only really 20 offensive points, though.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the points however I get them. I'm just pointing out offensively how things have been. And then against Bama, by the way, 17 points in the first half against Bama. We were talking about, looks like they're going to get over that number that an anonymous defensive coordinator had put out there. What was it, 22?
They wouldn't score 21 points or something like that.
Yeah, and they were on their way. Second half, Bama turned it on. A&M wins the fourth quarter 3-2, but they lose the half because the third quarter was atrocious. They barely had the ball. They had the interception. Bama just dominated it. Only 3 points in the second half.
Yeah. And like you said, sometimes Max holds the ball too long. That's true. But what are the excuses for offensive linemen making mental mistakes now? 6 games into the season. What are
no excuses.
What are the explanations?
There are no excuses, but I guess what I'll say to that is, what do you do to fix the scenario? And I feel like the only thing you can do to fix it, OB, Max, you got to throw it faster. Like, that's where we are, because the personnel is what the personnel is. Max, you can't hold on to it that long. That's the only way. Like, it's got to be quicker throws. We got to do something quicker. That's it.
Or you keep somebody else in to block and change, or hey, how about, make sure your guys are blocking the guy they're supposed to block.
So I've started my Tennessee prep over the last 24 hours. Interestingly, and I think I know what direction you'll take this when I bring it up, but like, I'm hearing a lot about Tennessee's defensive front, like, they're just as physical as Alabama's. Maybe, but I find Tennessee to be one of these teams that I just don't know. Mm-hmm. Right? Was that my Karen voice? I don't know what voice that was.
I don't know what it is, but
you liked it. I think you liked it.
I agree with the sentiment. You don't know.
Because they haven't played anybody.
Tennessee's a mystery.
They've gotten some sacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they're second in the SEC in sacks, if I remember correctly. Tied for second with 22, if I remember correctly. A&M obviously has 26. They played South Carolina and ate up a bunch of sacks in that game.
In South Carolina, remember, they gave up 9 sacks to North Carolina.
Right.
So I don't know if South Carolina's given up the most sacks in the country, but they're close.
They're very close. So I'm hearing about how physical this Tennessee defense might be, and they might be. I don't know. I haven't watched enough film to really get that vibe, and I can't go off the opponents just yet because I don't think the only really tough opponent that they've taken on was Florida,
and they got beat badly.
They did get beat badly. And by the way, another stat that I was researching: this team rushes for over 230 yards a game. In that game, they rushed for 100 yards. I feel like Florida's defensive front is the closest thing to A&M that Tennessee has faced.
I'd agree with that too. When you look at Florida, okay, Austin Peay, throw that out. And by the way, they didn't just boat race Austin Peay. I think that was just a maybe 10-point game going to the fourth quarter. I could be wrong on that. But throw that out.
Yep.
They beat Virginia. Virginia may be I think a Virginia-Vanderbilt game would be pretty interesting. I might take Vanderbilt. Virginia may be the worst team, Power 5 team in the country. They're terrible. And they've actually changed quarterbacks and got their better guy since the Tennessee game. They had some kind of musket who just frankly can't play. And then they played UTSA and South Carolina, along with Florida. So, again, you're supposed to beat a lot of those teams badly.
Yeah. So here's another thing that worry, concern, just a thought. Tennessee has not lost at home in 12 games. A&M hasn't won on the road in
7. True road game 7.
So that's an issue, guys.
Absolutely.
We know it's a hard place to play, but when you hear 12 straight wins, and I don't have the schedule in front of me who they've beaten, but I know they've beaten some pretty good teams.
I know one of them was Alabama.
And one of those was Alabama.
So,
and look, Joe Milton is not Hendon Hooker.
No, he's not.
You know what he does well?
He can throw it a long way.
He can throw it a long way.
And he can run a little bit.
And he can throw it a short way, too, which is A&M struggles with those short passes, too.
I think Joe Milton is also one of the enigmas.
Well, here's a little note for you. A&M 22nd in pass defense in the country, but gives up big plays constantly at 117th in yards per completion in college football.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Let's hear from Jimbo Fisher on how to fix winning on the road yesterday at the press conference.
Change it how you approach. I mean, what do you go to the hotel this day, that time? What you approach is your maturity. How you play, how you practice. We'll do things different. We'll crank up maybe more crowd noise. We'll crank up more situations. We'll do, that constantly does change. And usually on the road, what happens, mature teams play well on the road. Mature teams that are confident and trusting things and believe in themselves. It's hard. But, I mean, you just saw Alabama. What did they have? Eight false starts? I mean, they had 11 penalties or 10, 11 penalties. They had 8 false starts and a group of guys. So, I mean, you're on the road in this league. It's hard. Tennessee is one of those hard places. But hopefully your maturity and your leadership, and we're a little bit older this year, hopefully those things will help. And, again, staying focused. And that's, unfortunately, that's what happened in this game in the first part of that second half. We had a critical mistake when we got a turnover that, could have had a big play coming back. And we got to sustain, and we got to pick up our short yard. We got to do a better job in short yardage and picking those things up. And, hopefully that's what it gets down to. So we're always changing reps, what we do in practice, what we do on, we change constantly. And
all right, there's Jimbo Fisher talking about it. By the way, everything he said I agree with. I agree with mature teams do better on the road. Here's where just the way I am wired, feel a little like, to me, like, if things aren't working, I might change them too quickly. Like, okay, let's throw away the plan. And sometimes that can be a problem as well. But if things become a trend, I find different things to switch it up. If your gumbo tastes a certain way and you don't like it, you change some of the ingredients, right? You've got to, if it becomes a trend and is constantly being a problem, something has to change. He did say that. They do change crowd noise, this and that. I don't know if it's traveling early, traveling late. I don't know what. Something has to change. And I hope the maturity is really that big of a deal this weekend when they go to Neyland Stadium.
Yeah, I hope so too. I don't care what changes, just change the outcome.
Change the outcome. Get the victory. If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us or you can text us at 979-693-1150. Let's go behind the glass and say hi to Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
What's up?
Well, yeah, I don't know what it is about this game. I think things will start going right. I honestly don't know how to feel about it. It's basically what I'm trying to get at.
Both teams are a mystery.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what it is. A&M has been giving up those explosive plays, like you say, but I mean if they're holding teams to 24 points like they did against Bama with all those explosive plays, you'd figured the offense should be able to score enough to top that. But I mean, I'm with y'all right now. I'm kind of just don't know exactly how to feel about this game just yet.
Look, going on the road's different, right? It's a different experience. What does Tennessee do well? Explosive plays. Throw the ball deep.
I'm sure that they watched Alabama and they say, hey, this corner here, we're going to run squirrel white at him all day long until you show that you can cover this guy.
And I'm sure A&M, conversely, is thinking of ways to help said corner, right? Like that's
well, most of the time, if you have a strong pass rush, that's the greatest help you can give a DB. But
I know Tennessee's got their starting center back. I know that Joe Milton's gone down 5 times this year. Tennessee has a team 6. Again, though, how much of that is because of the teams they have played? Right. Florida didn't get to the backfield very much, though. As good as their defense was, I think they had 1 sack in that game.
So, I'm not too concerned about the A&M pass rush, no matter who's at center. I think A&M can rush the passer. That's been proven. What I'm concerned about is, the things that everybody's concerned about. Does your offensive line know who to block? Do they know which way to go on a 3rd and 1? Can they cover?
Yep. All right, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Catch every play of every Aggie football game at the Angry Elephant. Click on theangryelephantbar.com to find one of the closest locations to you. Luke Evangelos is in the house. Luke, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, David. I've been doing some research over here on some stats comparing non-conference to SEC and how the offense has regressed a bit and the defense is improving. So the offense is scoring 17 less points per game and gaining 93 less yards per game on offense.
That's somewhat predictable because you start playing better teams.
But the defense has actually improved in SEC play. They're giving up 1 less point per game, giving up 59 less yards per game, and they're averaging 4.7 more sacks and 6 tackles for loss more in SEC play.
What has changed? They became more aggressive.
Yeah. You probably could have had 7 sacks against Miami if you decide, oh, gosh, maybe it's a good idea for us to pressure them.
And do you think had they gotten 5 more sacks, they win that game?
Maybe. Sitting back and playing soft sure didn't help you.
So do you think, will they be as aggressive with Tennessee as we've seen the last couple of weeks, considering what Jalen Milroe was able to do to A&M, even with the sacks and throwing those deep balls?
Yes, because that's – to me, that's your only hope is make that quarterback uncomfortable because we saw it against Miami. If you don't, then you have a look. If you give a quarterback time, I don't care how many guys you have back there, somebody's going to find an open spot and he can get it to somebody. Or he could just take off and run. The sitting back with 8 defenders is not the answer for this team because if nobody's covering, what does it matter if you have 8?
Yep.
But you can't cover with 7.
By the way, on the TexAgs chat, I see that somebody post. Who is it to post this? I can give them their credit. Oh, Good Poster says, tough news about A-Chain. It looks like he's going to be out for multiple weeks with a knee injury after just such a great start to his NFL career. Maybe it was going to be Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's just been phenomenal. So he's going to be out for multiple weeks, according to CBS Sports and ESPN. So that's the latest news on Devon A-Chain. So hate to see that. We'll talk about that with Shereen Williams a little bit later on in the program. Calvin One also says the Ags are 7-12 on the road in SEC play under Jimbo Fisher. Got to go win on the road, guys.
Just got to start winning, period.
I'd like to know what the record was at the end of the 2020 season. What his road? Because it's been really that's a lot of that's been these last 2 seasons.
Well, I know that 2019 they had some tough road trips because they played a Monument. They went to Clemson, they went to Georgia. They had some tough road trips that year.
When we come back on TexAgs Radio, the Apex Performance of the Week. We do it even when they lose, guys. We got some guys that do deserve some props, so we'll talk about that. Right now, we're talking Fargo's Pit Barbecue, 1701 South Texas Avenue in Bryan. They're closed on Sundays. They're closed on Mondays. And that's the only bad thing I can say. And it's a good thing because they need to rest up. We all need rest and recovery, OB.
I know I do. And, if I needed to feel better, one of the ways I could feel better is just go to Fargo's, get some rib tips. Of course, I'd have to get there early or even call ahead. But if I couldn't get those, the last time I went, I couldn't get them. I had the barbecue, the chopped beef sandwich, and it was excellent. So that would make you feel better.
Do you agree with me? The food has to be good, but the experience can make or break a whole situation. Like if you go to Fargo's, not only is it a nice place, but like you know people there,
Yeah.
celebrities are there, like they talk to you. Like it's just like you feel like this is a small town. You feel like in a small town where they know you when you walk in there.
It's almost like going home for a holiday. You know, you feel like you're coming in with family.
Yeah, you give a hug to Belender, high five to Maurice, right? Like you do that to the crew.
They're
out
good
there.
folks, and like you said, you're probably going to see somebody you know there.
Yeah, Alan's out there. Food tastes great. The experience is wonderful, and they sell out quickly, so you want to make sure you jump on it by calling them early out there. They've been a part of this community for about 22 years. They'll take care of your football weekends, office parties, weddings, you name it. Fargo, 1701 South Texas Avenue in Bryan, without a doubt. The what?
The best barbecue in Texas, i.e. the world.
You know that's their trademark.
Because it's true.
It's Fargo's.
They're a very good team. That's why getting to them. Offensively, they're three. They got a three-back system. 0, 2, and 6. The running backs can all have juice. They're strong, and you think of them fast, but they're 210, 15 pounds. Small. Those guys are all really good players up there. The receiver, 10 is he's got juice. Squirrel is. He is like a squirrel. Trying to get a hold of that guy, but he plays physical for a guy that's 165, 70 pounds. He can run. The receivers outside are tall. Mixon, it's hard to get on the ground. Remember him from high school. He was a Florida kid in Orlando when he came out. He's big and strong, and he can tell you what you'll see in that game when he throws deep balls. He'll throw them our DBs are going to have to pay attention because it's balls that you usually don't see thrown that far. I mean, they're in the air 60 yards, sometimes 70 yards, and you're not used to ever playing the ball that far in the air.
All right, Jimbo Fisher yesterday at the press conference, I asked him about Tennessee. And the reason I say that is, by the way, TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Daniel Sanchez on our YouTube page. Daniel, have you subscribed yet? Please subscribe to our YouTube page, trying to grow those numbers. But he says, OB gets upset on the show with how the team is doing, and then he doesn't ask those questions on a Monday. And
no, that's not true.
I'm just curious what question hasn't been asked.
Yeah.
And what do we expect from the question asked?
Well,
maybe we don't ask it in a mean tone because we're friendly with the people we work with. I don't know.
Well, first of all, a press conference is not a debate.
Nope.
You're
their guest.
And secondly, I think if you've followed me at all, which I don't know why you would, but if you followed TexAgs at all, I think I have a history of asking very pertinent questions, sometimes when they're uncomfortable. So that's that. But just yesterday, I asked about the physicality of the offensive line.
Yep.
I'm not going to go out there and say, "Hey guys, you suck." Why do you suck? Which is what your basic fan wants you to say. I did say, like to Leighton Robinson, "Hey, how would you respond to people that question whether or not the physicality of your offensive line?" And I asked Jimbo the same thing. Offensive line's an issue, but you just can't go out there. Again, it's not a debate. It's and there's a certain amount of professionalism I think that you have to show. I also asked Jimbo, what does it take to make sure that this team is that your team is going to be mentally prepared after such a letdown?
Look,
I think those are very pertinent questions.
Look, here having a conversation is what I think TexAgs is, right? Like, we're having conversations here. Sometimes our emotions get high, sometimes they get low, but it's still, this is a conversation. A press conference, you ask questions, you get an answer. If you ask a mean question, you might get a mean response. I asked about yesterday about why they're struggling on the road. Like, it's not a nice question. It's not a mean question. It's a fact. Why have you struggled on the road? Or what can you do to change it? Can you put your finger on what the issue is? At the end of the day, they're doing their absolute best, I believe, and the results weren't there on Saturday. So how do you fix it? What do you do next? Those are the questions.
In the past, I've asked Jimbo about DJ Durkin and whether or not he has any faith in him and things like that.
Right.
And, those are examples. So we appreciate your question, Mr. Sanchez, but fact of the matter is you're way off on that one.
Way off on that one. You know who was on? We're about to do the Apex Performance of the Week presented by Apex Health. Feel like you're losing your edge? It could be low testosterone. Increase your energy, sharpen your focus, and boost your performance with a custom treatment plan from Apex Health. Learn more at apexhealthclinic.com. The Apex Health Clinic is owned and operated by a veteran serving the Brazos Valley. All right, I'm going to let you take the first one.
Well, Edgerrin Cooper.
Let's do it. Cooper,
he's a big hog hunter. He was an elephant hunter. Almost, what did he get, 3 sacks?
Yep.
3 sacks and probably
3 tackles for loss.
What do you have, 11 tackles?
Forced fumble.
Edgerrin Cooper is playing like an All-American, and that's a game that illustrates it.
No doubt about that. Like every week, you can't call him a sleeper of the week. He is the freak of the week, and has been on a consistent basis without a doubt. Let's do another one. Ainias Smith?
Oh, of course.
Of course. I mean, it's been like 3 or 4 weeks in a row of just Ainias domination. 4 receptions, 88 yards, 46 return yards. Didn't get a touchdown. I thought he scored a touchdown. I understand on TV the angle was a little bit different, but...
Well, he had 3 opportunities to score touchdowns. One time he stepped out. The other 2, they just weren't able to get the ball to him. He was wide open on a play early, and the ball was behind him. It was thrown too hard.
Yeah.
To be that close, but he probably would have caught it anyway if it would. And then, of course, the time he broke open behind the secondary, and the ball just was late getting to him.
Yep, no doubt about that. Ainias
thrown and late.
Where would this team be without him, man? I mean, he's so dependable. And again, I love his energy. I love his focus. I love how he handles press conferences. Like, just everything about that dude, I'm all in.
He's almost the perfect football player.
Yeah.
For what he does.
Yep, absolutely. The other one I was going to bring in is Fidel Diggs. Fidel, like he's the kind of guy. He had 2 sacks. I feel like when he gets hot, right? Like he's not gonna just get 1. He's gonna get 2. Like that's how he rolls. And he had that 2-game stretch last year, and then he got hurt. Unfortunately, I hope this is a sign of things to come from Fidel Diggs.
Yeah, I like Bryce Anderson. I thought Walter Nolan was playing really well. Evan Stewart, I think, is playing well.
I like to get Evan the ball more.
Yeah,
I like to get him on the ball.
Maybe if the referees would get the hell out of the way, maybe they would.
Yeah, in soccer they reset the play from there. I wish they could have done that for A&M on that play because you can't get in the way, homeboy.
Well, Jimbo's right when he says normally they line up and
6.
then when the ball's snapped, they take some steps forward to get out of the way.
Yep.
Because the teams, this is not just coach speak, it's true. Teams understand that that's where the guy's probably going to be or not going to be, and they have the guy move up because you don't want the offense. They don't want the offense to use the official for a pick, to knock off a defender. So normally, and this guy was just asleep. Oh, what do you mean? I guess I was supposed to get out of the way.
Oops, sorry.
He should be suspended for a game.
All right, let's hit a break here, and we will come back with Shireen Williams of Pro Football Talk. We'll talk with Shireen about a lot of stuff happening, not only with Aggie football in the college ranks, but, of course, what is happening there in the pro ranks with the unfortunate news that Devon Achane going to miss a little bit of time. We'll see if she has any insight to that. That just came down here in the last 20 minutes or so. The future of joint pain relief is here. That is QC Kinetics. They are in the area. They are in the market, and it is regenerative medicine, and that stuff is amazing. If you've been told that steroids or surgery are the only option for you, they're wrong. They're liars, okay? They're liars. It is not the only way to go. You can get a second opinion and learn more about how you can harness your body's own healing agents to attack that joint pain. I'm talking lasting relief. QC Kinetics doesn't mask the pain. These are treatments that go to the very root of the problem using concentrating healing properties placed directly in your joint to restore and repair that damaged tissue. So imagine living life with no more pain in your knees or your back or your hips or wherever it may be, and no drugs, no downtime. We're talking about little, you're out, right? It's quick and it's awesome. It's all about living in motion, and QC Kinetics will help you get back to living in motion. Call the local medical professionals and get a free consultation today. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That is 979-452-6000. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. I'm just going to read it. Chad on the TexAgs.com says, let the O-line know that there's no secret. They appear to be soft, but in a diplomatic way. Maybe if they know the word on the street, they aren't physical, something might change.
Well, I happened to ask Layden Robinson yesterday, and I'm paraphrasing. The question was something like this. Hey, Layden, how would you respond to those that would question the physicality of the offensive line? And Layden was, I think, annoyed at the question, and like a good offensive lineman would be, and gave a really strong response to that.
Look, if the media's job is to motivate the team, we're in trouble. I know sometimes we do, but
yeah, because they didn't believe it. They said this. Great. Hey, whatever it takes for you to win.
I want them to win, and I love those kids across the street, and I love the coaching staff. I do. Sorry, I'm a people person. Unless I don't like you, then it's on at BVMMA. Let's go to the hotline right now. We're joined by Shireen Williams there. Pro Football Talks Best, our friend, our Hall of Famer, and, of course, the great Aggie. Shireen, good morning.
Well, good morning to you guys. How are y'all doing today?
Doing well.
Well.
So we'll talk Aggie football, and then we'll work our way to the NFL. Your big takeaway from this past weekend against Bama?
Oh, disappointed because I think they were there for the taking. They made so many errors, and as Nick Saban said, it was a hard one for them to win. They committed 2 turnovers and 7 false starts, I think, as I was counting during the game, if that's accurate, a bunch of more penalties, and they were there to be beaten. They were waiting for you to take the game, and you didn't take the game, and you can point to so many ways you didn't take the game. The 2 turnovers, you turn it right back over on one, don't get points out of every other. You have a field goal block, you call a timeout right before a chip shot field goal when you should have had, I heard the explanation, but have your field goal team ready. If you can't make that field goal, that chip shot field goal from the 2-yard line, you don't need to be kicking and playing in college football anyway. I mean, anybody can make, high school players can make that kick. So there were just so many different errors that A&M made that, would have won the game. You think of just one of those things, if it had gone A&M's way, they probably win that game. Don't give up the safety. Poor play calling down there on the goal line. You give up the safety. How huge was that? Did that turn out to be with the score of the game? It could have been going for the touchdown there at the end instead of kicking the field goal. So just so many different things that didn't go A&M's way for whatever reason, and Alabama won it. So I'm still disappointed over it because I think it was there. When you lose, it's like after you lost to Miami, you're like, okay, all the goals are still there. We're still a really good football team. We have a chance. And now you're playing for a better bowl game, basically, is what you're doing the rest of the way because the West is out of reach. So I think that's why I'm so disappointed still today is, I just felt like this was a team capable of winning the West with the way the West is this season, and it's not going to happen. So move on to the next one and try to beat Tennessee and get back on track.
What was frustrating is she mentioned all those things. They were all true, and they were all in the second half. Shireen, when they're at the end of the half, the Aggies stopped Alabama. Should they have taken a timeout right after stopping them and forced a punt, which they would have had about a minute and a half instead of 43 seconds from their 20? So should you have played conservative and go in with the 17-10 lead, which they did? And by the way, let's understand, last year they gave up a touchdown just before the half.
Yes, they did.
And it turned out to be a key factor in the outcome. Or should they have taken the timeout and then try to see if they can get a score before the half?
I didn't mind what they did, but I was sitting in the Arts and Science this week, and I told the people at halftime, I said, now comes the scary part. Nick Saban is the best adjuster in college football. He is going to make changes at halftime. How many changes is he going to make, and is A&M going to adjust? And to me, that was it. They made adjustments at halftime. A&M didn't adjust as well, and Alabama came played a much better second half than A&M did. Scored 3 points. I mean, you got to have more than that. Scored 17 in the first half, so needed to figure out a way to score more points. So I didn't mind that decision. Looking back now, you're like, yeah, they probably should have. You know, they had the momentum in the first half, and Alabama was getting the kickoff in the second half, and, you know, all those things. But, you know, you talk about, you know, either you're going to use analytics or don't use analytics. But, and I know coaches say, well, it's the gut. But you go for it. So that was a big thing at the first of the game. You had 2 great drives to start. You get 3 points out of that. Then you have a 4th and 1 across the field. You don't go for that. Either use analytics or don't use analytics. But, you know, analytics said you should have gone for that. I mean, I like the play call on the 4th and 1. I was like, immediately when they lined up, I was like, there's no way they're getting this against that Alabama front. This is a bad play. Before the play was even run, I said they're not going to pick this up. You can't run that play against Alabama. So, you know, there's just, again, just so many little things. I didn't mind that decision, but when you look at it now, you're like, yeah, they probably should have, but that's retrospect. At the time, I was like, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Go to the half with the lead, figure out a way to score some points in the second half, and they didn't do that, obviously.
Shireen, I look at this Tennessee game as the fork in the road, the moment in the season where we figure out if this team is really going to be competing for these high-level bowl games that we've been talking about, or if it's just another one of those, here we go. You agree?
Yeah, and you know what? You got to rebound quick. As disappointed as I am, I know the players and coaches are as disappointed, and you got to have that, you know, short mindset of, okay, it's over. We got nothing we can do about it except get better and learn from it and move on to the next one. And so I hope they have short memories and have moved on, and there's nothing lingering right now. You know, you got to look at the next game because you knew when the schedule came out that these were going to be it's going to be a quick turnaround and back-to-back really hard games. And if you win this one, I think everybody feels pretty good about where you are and, you know, get some momentum going into next season, get a good bowl game, all those things. So there's still a lot to play for. It's not what any of us wanted. It's not what they wanted. You know, I get all that, but there's still some, you know, big picture things left there, but you got to beat Tennessee to do that. And if you don't, you know, I worry about mentally where this team's going to be and how they're going to play the rest of the season. So to me, this is just, it's a huge game.
Yeah, you know, first of all, I had the worst football weekend perhaps of my entire life, and it started with that loss. And so I think it's fair to ask now, though, if A&M does not go on the road and prevail, how seriously should A&M be considering moving on from Jimbo Fisher as this season progresses?
Well, here's the thing. You know, you got the, number 3 now recruiting class, and I know some of it's NIL, but do you want to risk that? And you also have the out with Connor Wegman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's hurt. He's coming back. Are they going to transfer if Jimbo doesn't come back?
Okay.
I give him another year. Regardless of how the rest of the year plays out, I give him another year to say, you recruited these kids. They're now have all this experience. You have all these players coming back. You have this great recruiting class. Pressure's on for 2024. Go win it. Because you're going to be starting over technically after you're going to have a new quarterback after next season. You're going to have all new players after next season. If those players are good, and I think a bunch of them are, they're going to go into the NFL. And so you're going to be starting over after 24 anyway. But I let them. I think they're going to be really good next year. I do. And if you can keep all of them, get them all back, get their recruiting class in, I think they're going to be really good next year, and they'll contend.
Well, I agree with you as far as staying with Jimbo at least another year. I agree with that. Just wanted to see what your thoughts were.
Shireen, let's move on to Ags in the NFL, and we saw the unfortunate news of one of those that will definitely be on your list.
Yeah, sad news for Devon Achane. I still say Achane. He has a knee injury, and he's going to go on injured reserve. Will be out at least 4 games. and hopefully no more. They haven't said exactly. I'm sure it'll get out later this afternoon what the knee injury is. You hope it's just some sort of sprain that takes 4 weeks and he can get back on the field. I mean, oh, what a great season he's having. I think he's second in the NFL in rushing yards right now, and he is number one on our list for Aggies of the week. 11 carries, 151 yards, 1 touchdown. He's averaging over 12 yards a carry, which is just phenomenal. He also had a catch for 14 yards. Number 2, Josh Reynolds, just playing great with the Lions. 4 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown in the win over the Panthers. Number 3, I don't think we've called his name this year, Christian Kirk. 6 catches, 78 yards, 1 run for 6 yards. Played a really good game over in London as they beat the Bills. Also want to mention Von Miller returned. He had a tackle. And Justin Matabuke had 5 tackles and half a sack. And Braden Mann, 1 punt for the Eagles, 41 yards and inside the 20-yard line. So hopefully he sticks around with the Eagles and has a chance to win a Super Bowl.
Shireen, great stuff as always. Thank you so much. Talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys.
There she is, Shireen Williams. All right, we'll come back with we got to guess the lines. Ob, I was terrible last week. There was 1 week I was really good. Last week I was terrible. I have not looked, Luke. I'm tempted to look, but I haven't looked. Right now we're talking Heritage Films. That's the place you get documentaries done about your family. You probably haven't done it yet. You better jump on it. Aggies all around the country have done it. Actually, Aggies all around the world have called Chance McClain up to get these documentaries done about their family business, their family ranch. And the new wrinkle, just like good times with your boys, right? Like that may be a golfing event. That may be, I don't know, hunting. I think it'd be weird to have cameras out there, but maybe it's 3-on-3 basketball. Maybe it's just you guys go eat wings on Mondays. Something that you've been doing for a while could be documented and saved so you can share your kids and their kids and their kids some of the cool stuff you've done in your life. That's what Heritage Films does. They do documentaries on family businesses and ranch and families itself, right? You can do that, or you can do the Year Flicks, which is more of these shorter videos, Q&A, which are more benchmark videos for the youngsters out there. And the youngsters can be of any age, right? You can be 10 to 12 years old, 15. You can be a college student. That's been a big pickup for Chance and his company. There are a lot of people want to document the freshman year, their sophomore year, their junior year, in 20-minute Q&A style that I think your family is going to love. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com. 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. We are back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. We go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Luke Evangelos has got some lines for us to guess.
Yeah, starting off with Indiana at Michigan.
Indiana and Michigan. Michigan by 34 and a half.
Yeah, I was going to say 24. Not even any worse than that.
David, you definitely took a peek because it's 34 for Michigan.
Oh, well, I didn't take a peek, but I'll take it. I'll take it all day.
Okay, UMass at number 6, Penn State.
Who cares?
Similar.
Yeah, 31.
Yeah, 34.
It's 42 and a half.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Arkansas at Alabama.
Bama by 16 and a half.
I was going to say 17.
19 and a half.
Okay, we're close.
Then we've got Georgia at Vanderbilt.
Okay,
gosh.
Georgia by 40. Is that an option? Can we go for that high?
Yeah, you can go that high.
Yeah, I'll say Georgia by 28.
It's 31 and a half.
Okay.
And then we've got Missouri at Kentucky.
Oh, nice
Missouri. Oh, that's a good game, actually, now I think about it. At Kentucky, Kentucky by 1.5.
7.
Kentucky by 2.5.
Okay.
OB, I don't know what you're looking at for that.
I'm
Auburn.
looking at Kentucky to win by 7. That's what I'm looking at.
Okay. Auburn at LSU.
Auburn at LSU. LSU by 7.5.
LSU by 14.
LSU by 11. Then we've got USC at Notre Dame.
Ooh.
That's a tough one.
Notre Dame by 3.
Yeah, I'm going to go with OB. Notre Dame by 2.5.
Wow, it was 3.5.
Okay.
Next, we've got Oregon at Washington.
At Washington, I believe Washington is higher ranked than Oregon.
By 1.
So I would say Washington by 1.
And I'm going to say Oregon by 2.
It's Washington by 3.
Okay.
Okay, we've got Syracuse and at Florida State.
Florida State by 13.5.
Florida State by 8.
It's Florida State by 17.5. And
17.
then we've got BYU at TCU.
Oh, gee, what a dog.
I don't even care. Like,
yeah.
Punch me in the face first. BYU by 1.5.
TCU by 4.
It's TCU by 4.5. Good one, OB.
Nice. I suck.
And then if you want to wrap it up, we could go with Florida at South Carolina, but who even cares about that
Florida at South Carolina. Florida by 1.5?
Yeah, okay.
It's actually South Carolina by 2.5. I think they're giving that home field advantage
Yeah.
too much credit.
Huh.
Yeah, well, neither team's good.
And I'm fairly sure I've seen the A&M Tennessee spread, which is Tennessee by 3.5, right?
Yeah, it's 3.5. I didn't want to put it because I think David is cheating and looking at the spreads beforehand.
I get 2 out of 10, and I'm cheating. Thanks.
Well, I'm taking A&M. I'll tell you now.
Well, here's my
I
thing.
think I always take the team that I think has more talent.
I'm kind of like you, and I guess home field matters that much for some of these lesser games. I just don't think of it that way.
Well, I think the home field is not the issue for A&M. The question for A&M is how bad do you want to play after last week?
This team needs a bounce back game against a really good team.
And then take a week off to reboot.
And then just slaughter the rest of the SEC.
Let's hope.
Let's hope. OB, thank you, sir.
All right.
We've got a loaded show, like loaded. Coming up next, Jamie McCoy, Jamie Morrison, KBTX Roundtable, Jordan Pugh, Pat Henry, a Tennessee insider, and then we got some stats. I mean, it's nonstop. It's TexAgs Radio. We'll be back. We can go ahead and call Jamie McCoy. I haven't heard back. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. So there's been a lot of discussion today. Be Glow, putting on a coaching clinic on the YouTube page. If you don't check out his work, he always breaks it all down, things that he thinks teams are going to do against the A&M, and he's been very right on many of those subjects. So you should check it out on the YouTube page. If you haven't subscribed, if you haven't liked, you should go do that. So make sure you check it out. Here's a quick snippet from Be Glow on the YouTube page. The third touchdown is a dig on the short side versus match 3. And since the backer is matching the back, we have no one in the curl. And again, Bryce is rolled down away. So it just gives you a little bit of that perspective. Jamie McCoy will be jumping on the Zoom here in a moment so we can get into it. If you want to talk today, many ways you can do it. You can text the program at 979-693-1150. You can call today. We're very guest-heavy, so it may be tough to get through. Or you can also talk on the YouTube page, on the TexAgs.com page, and hello to our friends on the CW and the Zone. So the importance of this one is huge, but I don't know who Tennessee is. Tennessee's got a reputation. I think reputation goes a long way, but in a moment, that reputation can go away. Remember how everybody felt after the Florida beating that they had? And then, they win one, and everybody's back, Tennessee, in A&M, marching high. Then you have the Alabama loss, and everyone's like, I don't know if we're going to win a game again. So let's find out what Jamie McCoy thinks about that on the hotline. Jamie, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. How you doing today, David?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So let's get into it because, this game had a lot of feels, a lot of emotions afterwards. So just tell me where you are with this A&M football team this year, this program overall, after what just transpired.
Man, the way I feel after that game, after watching that, is we are right there, and I hate even talking that way. There's no moral victories in the SEC. It's either you win or you didn't. But the thing that I loved about this game is that Alabama didn't dictate anything. There were a couple opportunities that we let slip by us, for one being the coverage on number 3. I feel like that was the only thing that hurt us. But outside of that, it weren't I felt like we actually bullied them. That was the first time I've ever seen Alabama not able to run the ball or, like I said, dictate what they wanted to do on offense. We made them one-dimensional. And if you would have told me that they would have had to beat us through the air and that's the way that we lost, I'd be comfortable taking that. And that's exactly what happened because we actually did make them one-dimensional. I left the game thinking, somebody swallow your pride, get on the phone with Jim Turner, and get him back to A&M. We when he was there in his 2 stints, we had perennial top 5 draft picks. I'm talking about the whole entire draft, and some of those guys are still playing in the league to this day. So we need to shore up our offensive line, let Max be comfortable. That's how Connor got hurt. I think we're there. We just we got to be aggressive. We can't punt it on that 4th down in the middle of the 3rd quarter. And we just got to go. We got to say we're taking this from you. We're not going to see how the game plays out. We're going to actively try and win this thing. You got to play to win, not to lose.
Talking to Jamie McCoy here, you said all those things, and it makes me wonder. You made Alabama one-dimensional. You were the more physical team, at least for the first half. You forced the turnovers. You got to the quarterback. You did all the things you're supposed to do, and you still lost. Doesn't that make it more disheartening?
No, actually, this was the first time most times after we lose, I'm kind of sitting there thinking about what we did wrong, who needs to go, who needs to be benched, who needs to be whatever. But in this case, I hate to say that a guy needs to be benched. We just needed a better idea or give the guy some help on number 3. That was the only thing that was hurting us. We would get to 3rd down, you got to get off the field. I get what you're saying. We were there. We did all the things that we needed to do. But like I said, it's about being aggressive. Same thing happens to some of these teams in the NFL. You're playing a team that on paper, they're supposed to beat you. You're at home. You got to say, you know what? I'm not just going to punt this ball and see if you can go 90 or 80 or whatever the case may be. It's put the game put it into our hands. If we're going to run it on 3rd and 2, go ahead and be ready to run it hurry up style on 4th and 1. I don't know if it's illegal to do this Philadelphia shove or whatever. We got to have some type of hurry up, quick, get on the ball. It's 4th and 1, catch them off guard and just get the first down. I hate being complacent and just punting it back to them. I don't like us not being aggressive.
All right, the offensive line is a huge concern. We talked about it preseason that, like, this season will be won and lost based on the trenches. The defensive line has carried their weight. The offensive line at times has looked better. But what happened in the second half? I mean, was it the Alabama adjustments? Did the line get tired? Because they somewhat protected him. At least there wasn't as many sacks in the first half. Second half, it was a wrap.
Man, I think I don't want to blame it on conditioning. I don't want to say that we were tired, but it looked like they just couldn't. It was like a heavyweight fight, and one guy just lost their steam. They kept on bringing pressure, and that's another thing we got to get back to. The way that Alabama was saying, hey, you know what? We're just going to throw the fade up to number 3. Maybe we'll get a PI. Maybe he'll catch it, whatever. We didn't give Evan Stewart, Moose Muhammad, Noah. We didn't give any of these guys a chance. I don't know if Alabama's corners are that talented. We never tested to whether it got picked off or blocked away, whatever the case. And if you go back and look at the game earlier this year with Texas and Alabama, Texas was airing it out. The way that they got those touchdowns, they were 60, 70-yard scores. I feel like you got to expose Bama that way. For whatever reason, coordinators get in their mind, or I don't know if it's the team gets in their mind, but they give Alabama too much respect. You don't even test them deep. You try to run at them and see what you can get, but you've got to go at those guys just like they came at us. It's got to be tit for tat, and we got to give our guys an opportunity to show why they're top receivers in the nation. I got all the faith in them. We just got to call the play and take our shots.
Talking to Jamie McCoy here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Max needs to release the ball quicker, right? Like, I mean, that was a problem. There were times that they protected him.
Yes, he does. To that point, there were times, just watch, it's different than being at the house. You get to see the replays and all that. I was in attendance, but it just felt like he was, he'd snap the ball and he was always kind of tiptoeing backwards, which alludes to the pressure that they were putting on us. We got to be better up front. We got to be, tree trunks in the ground and not let the pocket cave in on Max. But yes, he's got to be better getting it out of his hands quicker. And we got to dial stuff up for him to get it out of his hands quicker. Going back to that point, I know one time he tried to get out of his hands quick, the interception. After we got the interception, we gave it right back. Jake Johnson has to be better in that scenario. He let both of them were there to make the 50-50 play, but the Alabama guy wanted it more. Jake's hands were there. He let the Alabama guy push his hands down and take the ball. And that goes back to the aggressiveness that I was speaking to. You've got to say, the ball's in the air, it's my ball, I'm going to get it. He let that guy kind of big brother him, and I know that's a play that he wished he could have back. I know we got about 3 or 4 that we left out there where it was like, you make that play, it's a completely different game.
Is that a coaching thing, or is that just a player's gut thing? Like physicality, is it from within?
It can be a little bit of both. I mean, every pregame and postgame and all the shows that I've seen with Jimbo, I know his speech. I know it's something that he's not necessarily not telling you to be aggressive. He's telling you go make the most of your opportunities. You got one chance. Go out there and put it on tape. He's telling the guys the right thing, so I can't put it on the coaching. Really, it's a mentality thing. It's something that you just got to have in you, from whether you grew up with brothers or you're just that competitive person. You don't want to lose in Monopoly, ping pong, whatever the case may be. You got to have it in you where I'm not going to let you just take this from me. And it means so much to me that my brothers know that I'm making the play for them. It's got to be from within. So I can't put that on Jimbo. That's just a mentality thing, but it's something that can be developed. It's not like you just don't have it and you'll never get it. It's just you got to have that want to and want it more than the next man.
Did you expect the offense to be a little more creative, more explosive once we got to SEC play, or is this kind of what you expected because you are taking, or maybe more pre-snap motion? I don't know, just some kind of disguise.
There can be some of that. I can't say that I expected him to be more or less of anything, but with all these great schemes, whether it be San Francisco or Miami, there's stuff out there on tape of coordinators being creative, being aggressive, and giving their guys a better chance before the snap. Again, me as the offensive coordinator, I'm the way that that game was going, they weren't, whether we were throwing little short passes, stuff over the middle, we were doing too much dink and dunk. For me, I feel like we should have opened up the playbook. We should have thrown a few shots deep, whether it be a post, a fade, whatever the case may be. You got to throw 2 or 3 so that the defensive coordinator on the other side respects that, hey, these guys are coming after us. Let me give my guys some help. Let me back off a little bit. If you never do that and you just keep on trying to dink and dunk, they're going to pin their ears back and try to 3rd and 5, they're up there pressing on you. You got to get some respect and get these guys on their heels. We've got all the talent to do that. We've just got to put it in the claws and make that part of our identity. So Petrino's got to do that. And I think moving forward, I don't see this is optimistic Jamie again. I'm sorry, public. But I don't see us losing another game. I don't think we're going to play a defense as good as Bama's, and I don't think our offense will struggle near as much as it did with Alabama. Even though we put some points up, I think we'll be better the rest of this season. I think these guys know what they can do better at.
Jamie, I'm glad you're optimistic. I'm going to throw this at you, and you tell me how to be optimistic, all right? Because I love it. I need it. I need it in my life right now.
Yeah.
So Tennessee hasn't lost a home game in, a season and a half? A&M hasn't won a road game in a season and a half. So that just kind of tells you where you are. I'm going to give you the exact numbers on that. Here it is. Tennessee, let's see where it went. I just had it. I lost it. Whatever. It's a year and a half each, okay?
Okay. It's cliche to say records are made to be broken, but this is one of those situations where I think something has to shake. The way that we played and the way that we lost that game, I know what the emphasis is going to be this week in practice. Who did Tennessee just play this past weekend?
They were off. They had all week to kind of study what Bama did effectively.
See, what's up with the schedule makers? Why is that the case? It's almost like they set us up for failure. You give us Bama, and then we got to go on the road. So they were off, which is honestly might be a good thing for us. Them being off, seeing what we did, and kind of being. I hope they come out lackadaisical. But I know for us, we've got to come out with our heads on fire. The way that we lost that game, it could have been won for sure. And I know that when you're that close and you're playing a team as talented as Alabama, I think that our guys know that this team isn't at Alabama's level. I think they come out and they raise their level of play. And Jimbo knows that he hasn't done anything on the road. So I think there's going to be more emphasis on his end. So with those dueling, they haven't lost at home, we haven't won on the road. I think we flip that and something has to shake. Whenever it's too good to be true, you usually go the opposite way.
I got the numbers right here. They've won 12 straight home games. A&M has lost 7 straight true road games.
This is where it happens. You mark my words, we're winning this game.
All right, Nick, mark that.
I'm not worried about it.
Because when they win, I want to run this next week.
Time stamp. It happened.
It does.
We are going to beat Tennessee. I don't even think it's going to be a tough game. I think we win by more than a touchdown.
All right, so on the road against a team that throws the ball effectively. And a team that doesn't give up a lot of sacks. They haven't played anybody, but they've given up 5 sacks all year. So I say all that to you. How do they help the secondary, man?
Man, I don't know if you just take the kid out. Well, I knew from the first play when he caught that pass on him, he started talking mess, and that was just the backyard. I'm better than you. I know I'm better than you, and I'm gonna call you out. I hopefully DeBerry gets back in the lab, works on whatever it is he needs to fix. You can't bite on all the double moves. But that D-line, that front 7 did an amazing job. I know Tennessee has to be scared of that. The only way you help out that secondary is more pressure and not letting that quarterback on their end get comfortable. And I think Durkin has done an amazing job.
Jamie,
with the way
I
they
agree.
stop their rush, I think we're ready.
I agree with you. I do. But here's where I worry. You had 5 sacks against them. Or, 6 against Alabama. That's a lot, right? They didn't run at all on you. They were on the road at Kyle Field. They had 11 penalties, 8 false starts. Like, a lot of things. They gave you the ball back. Like, they threw a ball with, they did so many things wrong. And yes, and by the way, I do think we're going to win. At least that's my vibe right now. But, when you, last season when they won 5 games, we played the same game. This, there's just a play. They're close. They're close.
Yeah.
And I think that's the frustrating part because a lot of teams are close. Arkansas is close in a lot of games. They lost 4 straight. It's probably going to be 5 straight.
Yeah. Man, like I said, I think it comes back to aggression. Okay. I think when you go, all those things that worked in our favor, I think when you pull back the lens and you take a step back from it, I think you say, man, why weren't we should have come after that guy more. We should have just been, we can't punt the ball when we're on our territory and it's 4th and 1. Granted, it's Alabama, but I think the opening drive, we try to get cute and do a little play action and spin out of there and throw a pass, and we just went away from it from that point on. It was like, okay, they stopped us on 4th. We're not going to do that again. Where it's like, no, you got to be aggressive. Think back to last year. All the teams that were coming, whether it be Appalachian State, I know there was a couple more early, Ole Miss, these teams would go for it on 4th down on us because they had nothing to lose. And we've got to play like we've got nothing to lose because really we don't. We're expected to be 8-4, whatever. That's the running joke with A&M. We've got to say, the hell with that. We're going to be aggressive and we're coming after you. And you're going to know that we're coming after you. So I think watching this game, obviously it's on the road. I'll be watching on TV. We will be able to tell as a fan base, are we being aggressive or not? Whether it be a 4th down call, whether it be a fake punt. Are we going after it when they're punting the ball to us? I don't think we've gone after it to actually try to block a punt yet. But these are things that we need to execute out there. We need to be more aggressive and show that we're being more aggressive. If we can do that, I think the rest take care of itself. That front 7 is playing amazing. It's gonna help on the back end. The O-line needs to be aggressive. We just need to instill in ourselves, let's go take the fight to whoever it is that we're playing.
Jamie, I love the optimism. I really do. I was just throwing you out some counters just to have the spirit of conversation.
No, I appreciate it. I'm telling you.
So let me ask you this. We'll close it out with this thought. I look at this Tennessee game as the game that tells you what direction this season goes. You win this game, let's go freaking do it, 10-2, because I don't think you're going to face maybe LSU. We'll see what team LSU is because they may have saved their season last year. LSU had it last week with Missouri where they can save their season and still be 10-2. I look at this week as the same thing for Texas A&M. You win this game, you can still be a 10-2 team. You've proven you can win on the road. You've proven you can stop a high-octane offense. You lose, that's where the 7-5, 8-4 talk comes right back.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Again, we've got nothing to lose. We've got to come out there heads on fire. To your point, we go out there and we win this game. You get a bye week. You get to rest up. You get to get everybody back healthy. And you get to come out of full throttle, 100% for the second half of the season. Everything is right there for the taking, right in front of us. We know it as fans. We got that taste in our mouth that we don't want to have. I know the players have to be feeling the same thing. I think we come out inspired this weekend, and I'm hoping that matter of fact, I'm knowing that we get the job done because the job has to get done. If it doesn't, we don't even want to think about that. It's going to happen. Book it.
Book it. Love it, Jamie. Thanks so much as always, brother. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Gig 'em. You guys have a great day.
Gig 'em. Love the smile and the optimism. Let's go do it. Let's go do it this week. Bring me back to being like all in again. Like Godfather, bring me all in. All right, when we come back on TexAgs Radio, we're going to talk to a coach that has actually beaten both Mississippi schools in the same season here in the last, just this past weekend. We're talking a little Aggie volleyball here on TexAgs Radio. But before that, the Charge Apparel, those are my guys over there. Go say hi to the crew over there. Tucker and Travis do great work, and they started the Charge Apparel as a way to pay homage and respect the military, right, to their servicemen out there. They want you to know that they are supporting the U.S. economy, so they've built their stuff right here in the United States, and they want you to also know that everything they do is for those veterans because they're veteran-owned and operated, and 12% of their total sales are donated to veteran nonprofit partners with a focus on mental health initiatives. The polos are awesome. They are great. The tees are awesome. They are great. I'm going to say it over and over again. If you haven't seen it, they're just phenomenal. Check out the website. They fit great. They look great, and people will tell you how good they look. That I can guarantee. Texas-based company that is operating out of Austin, but tell you what, they are all about the Aggies. A bunch of former students here at A&M. They were in the Corps. Afterwards, they went into the military, and after that, they started the Charge Apparel. Go check out the website, thechargeapparel.com. Find them on Instagram, The Charge Apparel, or on X, The Charge Brand. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Aggie volleyball 12-4 on the year, playing great. They've got LSU coming, or actually they travel to LSU, and then on Sunday they will host South Carolina. Jamie Morrison's in studio to talk all about it. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Always good to see you. Always happy to be here on a Tuesday.
Happy to have you here, especially after such a great weekend.
Yeah.
Or a couple games in a row. Let's talk about beating those Mississippi schools.
Yeah, a little tour of Mississippi. First thing, if you're ever going to go watch a volleyball match in Mississippi, bring earplugs. They like to put music on at an unbearable level.
Is that right?
Yeah, both places. The second one, their band was there, and it was actually an awesome environment. Yeah, great weekend. And I talked the last time I was in here just about learning from our Missouri loss, about like we have to grind, we have to go out. And I thought we did that in both matches. I thought we didn't necessarily play our best on Friday, but we ground out a 3-1 win. And I thought when they took the third set, we kind of said no. In the fourth set, we kind of came out and played our style of volleyball for a solid 25 minutes. And then I thought I saw that for a full hour and a half on Sunday. And Mississippi State's a really good volleyball team. Both of them are, but Mississippi State's a really good volleyball team and a tough environment to play in. So to come out and play and not feel like you ever kind of are in the threat of losing a set, it feels really good as a volleyball coach.
I feel like this has been a few times this year where maybe you get jabbed. I'll use the word jabbed as opposed to a punch, right? And your team doesn't like it. They respond immediately, and that happened this weekend.
Yeah, that's been a little bit of a learning process. Like I would say in the beginning, like I don't know if you go back to the Houston match, if you go back to the TCU match, the jab kind of put us back on our heels for 2 sets. And the response has been there, but it's always taken a little bit. And I think right now, and there were a couple times in this match where I gave some players some props, where something happened that maybe didn't go our way, and we kind of just laughed it off and went to the next point. And that's progress in terms of getting to the culture of being comfortable, being uncomfortable, of kind of leading into adversity, what we talk about a lot. We're starting to do it more and more.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's talk about Logan. Team high, 22 kills, playing at a very high level.
Yeah, and I think especially on Sunday, you look at it, just the efficiency is the thing that, I don't know, she's killing the ball at 51%, which is something, I don't know exactly what the number is, but something you usually see out of middle blockers. And then not making a ton of errors, and you saw that on Sunday. Friday was a little bit of a dip, but just with the lineup that we had, that's pretty normal, and trying to adjust to that. But on Sunday, she's back to hitting 330, something along those lines, and those numbers are All-American-like.
Am I reading this correct? Nisa had 31 assists versus Ole Miss?
Yeah, so Ole Miss, we went into a 5-1. And for those of you that don't know volleyball, there's kind of 2 systems that you can run in the U.S. college system just because you get more subs. One of them is called a 5-1, where you have 1 setter, 1 opposite. The other one's called a 6-2, which is you play 2 setters and 2 opposites, and you're kind of always in a 3-hitter rotation with an opposite in the front row. And normally we play in a 6-2, and just a couple injury things and preventative things last week. We went into a 5-1 on Friday, and also just we want to have that option going forward of being able to be kind of in both of those systems. So Friday we played in a 5-1, and Nisa had a good volleyball match with a lot of assists.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So you're 2/3 of the way through a 3-game road stretch.
Yep.
How grueling can that be? And talk to us a little bit about LSU.
Yeah, you know what? I haven't talked to our team about this, but talked to our staff. In some ways, being on the road is almost good for us. Mm-hmm. It just kicks you into a rhythm, and it's more like, for me, coming from an international world, like I would rather go, I don't know, watch your video in the morning and then go get a serve pass, and then come back and kind of have a block in the middle of the day. And again, I just to everybody out there that's listening, that's a casual fan, like these young women are balancing academics and athletics. And when we're at home, like I have a, I don't know, priority of, hey, let's get them to class during the day. So it kind of messes up that rhythm a little bit. So actually there's some pieces to be on the road that I actually enjoy, that, hey, this is all about this. You can get your homework done in the middle of the day and make up the schoolwork, but like we get the schedule that it makes the most sense for volleyball. So we've actually found that being on the road is actually a positive thing for us.
Team bonding too, right?
Yeah, and that too. Yeah, you're around each other. Like it's not, hey, like you're going to go do this and scatter. It's like you're going to do this and then we're going to be in a hotel. So I think that piece of it's awesome. I think being on the road away from your own bed is difficult, but I've actually found we do pretty well on the road.
And then tell us a little bit about LSU.
Yeah, LSU is a really, really athletic volleyball team. And I coached with Tanya at the other school in Texas, and I respect her a ton. And she's put together a great group of athletes, and it'll be a grind. And I think their record, I'm not sure exactly, it's somewhere around 500, I think. But it's just one of those teams that if they get going, if they get into a rhythm in a volleyball match, they're extremely dangerous. So I've talked a lot about just playing suffocating style of volleyball. It's going to be really important in that they constantly feel pressure to make volleyball plays. And if we can do that, I think we got a pretty good shot of beating them. And if we don't, they're going to come alive, I think.
I cringe when I ask coaches about not the next game, the game after the next game, but the next game after LSU, South Carolina at home. I know you're focused on LSU, but again, though, with the kind of reception you've gotten from the 12th man, you're probably looking forward to that one.
I'll give you permission. I'm only here once a week, so we can move ahead on one match. We get to come home, and I'll keep saying it just every time we do. And I'll go back to the Missouri match when we lost. I think it could be a positive thing for our team, but the thing I was most disappointed in, I thought it was like a match about to be lit, about like this giant blaze of fans coming to our matches because it's fun, we're good. I asked people, please come out and support. And I don't think I can express enough how thankful I am, but our team talks about it too, about the energy that we feel in this building whenever we're here. I highly encourage people come out, enjoy it. And again, I keep telling people it's the first time I've gotten a lot of positive feedback just about the atmosphere. Ray, our strength coach, she just told me her grandmother loves our style of volleyball. But I hear a lot of people saying that too, that, hey, this is really exciting to watch, and it's the most athletic version of this team that they've seen. So if you haven't seen it come out, check it out. I like what we're putting out on the floor. I like the environment that we have within Reed. I hope you do too.
Yeah, no doubt. I do want to close with something I should have asked earlier. Afena, a second Defensive Player of the Week award.
Yeah, found out that yesterday at 3 o'clock. And again, I think I said it before even we started playing our first matches. I think one of the questions was, what are you surprised by? And I was like, I walked in and I'm like, I didn't expect us to be this good of a blocking team. But I think Jeff was looking it up yesterday. We're number 2 in the country in blocks right now. And I've said it all year, it's a superpower that we can rely on. And I talked to Kim when I got home. I talked to our staff, and just it's nice when you have a team that does the expected, that a ball gets set and it's a little bit tight and you're like, we should stuff this, and it's happening. So it's not, I don't know, a shot in the pan thing where it's happening once, but it's a consistent thing that we're good every single day, and I think Afena's at the forefront of that. So, but again, I think if you were to have her in here and talk to her, she'd take it back to the team of our right side blockers are setting up the block in a great spot. I think, I don't know, we're going to work on it a little bit more today, but a little preview to my team if they're listening. But just blocking wise, our right side blockers have really worked on their footwork to be able to put them in the right spot time in and time out. And I think that's a testament to kind of how we're being the blocking team that we are, and how Afena is doing what she is, but she's at the forefront of it.
Thank you, Jamie. Good luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Right now, caller number 1, we're going to give you a free car wash from Aggie Land Express Car Wash in South College Station off of William D. Fitch and Greens Prairie. They're Aggie owned and operated with the friendliest staff out there, and they offer a monthly membership. But we're going to give the first caller a free car wash right now from Aggie Land Express in South College Station, 979-693-1150. A little Ryan Bingham for you in the background. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It's now time for the KBTX Roundtable. Daryl Bruffett and Nicole Griffith in studio. Hello, friends.
Howdy. Good morning.
You waited. You were just like, should I answer? Or?
Well, I was going to let the howdy come out first. So.
Howdy. What's going on? Hey, so we were talking at the break. I'm not pessimistic. I'm not optimistic. I'm a TBD.
Realistic.
Yeah, right? Like, I've been a TBD for a while. Yeah, I'm realistic. This team can beat anybody. I don't know if they can lose to anybody. But that was last year. But they can beat anybody. They just don't. Daryl, where are you with this team?
Man, I was like you on Saturday, man. I thought that A&M was going to win by double digits and all was right with the world. And then all of a sudden, it didn't happen. The second half happened, and there was no offense, no points, except for that field goal late. I'm just like, dang. I mean, I thought, did I drink too much of the Kool-Aid? Did I not see? Was there something I didn't see? I just did not see A&M turning them into one-dimensional and then Alabama being able to be very good in the passing game.
Well, they were great in the passing game, which worries me about this upcoming game, but we'll get to that in a moment. Where are you with this team, Nicole?
I think it's just such a missed opportunity that game was. I think that this game will go down as maybe the one that got away, and I was in the same boat as Daryl. I was high up. I was like, man, this is good energy. We feel like they're coming off of the Arkansas win. They're undefeated in SEC play, have won both games in double digits. Now an Alabama team that comes into town that's, not the Alabama Goliath that we have seen in the past.
Their defense sure felt like it, though.
Well, before the game started. Mm-hmm. And then, you have the first drive of the game, they're just running right down the field. They're just marching down the field, and I'm shooting it, and I'm like, wow, this is going to be easy. We're just going to they're just going to beat Alabama. But, the second half happened, and you just can't put up only 3 points in the second half.
No, and look, defensively, even though there were issues, you can win a game where your defense gives up to Alabama 24 points, right? You can win that game. There's too many big plays, but you should be able to win that game. If I were to tell you that Alabama rushed for 23 yards, that they had 14 penalties, 8 false starts, you won the turnover battle, and you got to Jalen Milroe 6 times, would you believe that A&M lost?
No.
I would have to say, how are they going to lose? Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have believed it unless you showed it to me.
So everybody's got a different opinion of what they should have done on 4th and 1 early, what they did 4th and 1 midfield. The many plays you could kind of rewrite and change the way that game goes. What is the one play you'd like to have back for A&M if you could just have told them to do a different play or a different situation? Which is the one you'd take back?
You go first.
Originally, I think I'd want the first drive, the 4-and-1, the pass. Mm-hmm. I'd want that one back just because you don't come away with any points. But that was the first quarter, first drive, so no game is won in the first quarter. So I think I'd go back to the Anias touchdown that got called back, but then the hold on Noah Thomas I'd want that play back because then you're not pushed back.
And by the way, it's a hold, but they weren't calling that all game. So there's certain things
I'm
you
just
let
calling
go.
it what it was.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah, it was. You're right. You're right.
But that's the play I'd want back because then, the amount of times they had in the red zone, they didn't attack completely, and that would have pushed them up closer to be able to come away with 7 instead of 3.
I thought what was really odd was, I guess Anias drug his foot, and, then they had the holding penalty. They scored 2 touchdowns on that drive, and they got 3 points.
I know.
I'm just shaking my head going, dang. The play I would like to have back was the Max Johnson interception. You got the momentum. You just got the turnover. And I would have liked to have seen them build on that. But instead, here's the ball back.
In the same spot.
And I'm not saying, it's not. It seemed like Max just threw it to the wrong guy from what I was watching. I keep going back to the 2x2 screen. But still, it just looked like it was an easy interception. But that's the play I think I'd want back. Now, people are going to laugh at this. I have coached high school football, in a little story I did, 25 years ago, and it was 6-man at Allen Academy. But until
you did?
I did. Until
How come we've never heard
this is a great story. I want more.
Yeah.
Until you put the headset on and you're looking at the play clock and you got to make a call, you don't realize, I mean, you can be an armchair quarterback and that's easy. But until you're standing there and you have to make the call,
right,
it's tough. I mean, so I don't ever second guess what a coach does because I've been there. I know how tough that is. And, I got it. You can second guess coaches of plays that go wrong all day long. But then you can also look at plays. I still go back to and I think it was Texas and Kansas State, and John Makovic made some play in the Big 12 championship game that I just thought was outstanding. I thought it was totally ridiculous that he called it, but it worked, and it went down. I can't recall it, but it still sticks to my mind. So, I mean, that's hard for me to second guess a coach.
I got one for you. That's not necessarily mine, but just for the spirit of conversation. The 3rd and 1 at the end of the game where A&M brings the pressure and Jalen Milroe looks like he's going down, and somehow they convert, because I do believe if you get the ball there, and I don't think he could complete that pass again if you did that exact
I thought
same
it
play.
hit the ground until I saw the replay.
I did too. You get that play back. Look, you hadn't moved the ball in Alabama, so who knows? But I would love to have seen that place, how it would erupt. One more chance.
I think the 12th man would have willed them to win like I think they did 2 years ago.
Well, and I thought they were doing that on the Anais touchdown, because I don't know if there was enough evidence otherwise to overturn it, but they did, and it is what it is. But let's move on. I keep saying that this Tennessee game, to me, is the game where we'll figure out what direction this program goes this year, right? And maybe for multiple years. Like, this is the game where if you get it right, all that stuff you've been wanting to do, you got through the hardest part of your schedule. I know you got some hard games ahead, but the real hardest part of your schedule is these 2 weeks. If you can go on the road, break that losing streak on the road, stop them from winning their 13th home game, I think it sets you up nicely the rest of the way. You lose, then I'm wondering, how do you stop Jackson Dart? How do you start Will Rogers? So, Daryl, start us off. How important is this particular one before the bye week?
Considering they have not won a road game in a long time, they've got that stigma kind of sticking in the back of their head. I think it's huge. I think they have shown that they can bring pressure. I think they have shown they can put pressure on the quarterback. The problem is that, if the quarterback is able to find somebody before he gets hammered, that's where they get in. That's where they end up getting hurt. So I'm in agreement with you. I think this is a pivotal game for them. But I think it would have been a pivotal game even if they would have beaten Alabama, because it would have been pivotal for other reasons.
Right.
Staying undefeated in the SEC, building on a 4-game winning streak. So I had the Alabama and the Tennessee games circled at the beginning of the year just because they were two what you would consider SEC juggernauts back to back. And then you throw in the fact that Tennessee's had an off week. That makes it even tougher.
Nicole?
You guys took the words out of my mouth, but Tennessee coming off a bye, and they've only had their weird Florida loss on their record. And so this game's huge. A&M hasn't won on the road since 2021 Missouri, and so they need to make a statement. And I think when you looked at the schedule earlier in the year, they needed to split this Alabama and Tennessee. So especially going into the bye, if they lose to Tennessee and then having to go on, they haven't won on the road, then they go on the road again 2 times after the bye. This is huge for momentum.
Yeah. So coming into the season on this show many times, and this is not groundbreaking journalism, we said the season will come down to the offensive line. Offensive line, I felt for a while has done okay. Like, they haven't been great. They weren't great against Alabama. So just talk about it, guys. Just this O-line, Max Johnson's been okay, right? He hasn't been Connor. He hasn't been great. He's been good enough to win some games. And they need to protect him. He needs to release the ball quicker, but they need to protect him, Daryl.
He, what did he get sacked? 2 times, 3 times?
5.
5 in the game.
He got 5. Okay, so I remember 2 of them specifically.
The back-to-back ones that led to a safety?
Yes.
That hurt.
So, yeah, they have got to give him more time. You talked about him releasing the ball quicker. Maybe it's the decision-making. Maybe that's what separated him from Connor, a little bit. So I get that, but Yeah, I didn't think that I felt like that they needed to have more of a run game. Thank goodness somebody, and I don't know, it was during our pregame show, somebody showed me a picture, I think, of Evan Stewart in a boot.
Yeah, well, I knew he had a hurt ankle leading into the game, from the Arkansas game.
You know, he played decently at times.
Yeah.
But thank goodness Anias has come back, because Anias seems like he's kind of the heartbeat of that offense.
He has been so big for this team.
But to answer your offensive line question, I wasn't impressed. I would have thought that they would have taken a bigger step forward. Maybe it was the Alabama defense that did not make them look as good.
Yeah, and I've just gotten to a point, it doesn't matter who the defense is. Like, you've been recruiting big boys. It's time to do it. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. Nicole, just did you learn more about Bama or more about A&M?
Man, I kind of want to take both answers.
Okay, take it.
I feel like we learned a lot about Alabama, especially with them not being the dominant team that they are. They were able to come out and, put up the numbers that Milroe and Burton put up,
Jermaine
about
Burton,
197 yards. And so they just came in and they dominated. Dominated is, relative to all the mistakes that they had. But then A&M, it was just it's interesting or surprising seeing how they came out in the second half. I feel like this team is a team, that's why you play 4 quarters and you play the 2 halves. But, they go into halftime and you're up by 7, and I'm starting to get texts from people who are like, you're at this
Felt
game.
good.
Yes, they're like, this could be it. You're going to see an amazing finish. And it just went. I don't know how to describe it. It just didn't.
Well, this is what it felt like. It felt like Bama made a lot of adjustments. And I can't tell you what those adjustments were, but the defensive line, which was good in the first half, was better in the second half, right? They were able to throw the ball. They were able to throw short, deep. I mean, Jalen Milroe was good, which is what worries me about the future, because he is not the passer that Joe Milton is, although Joe Milton's not very accurate, but he throws the ball deep and they got a good offense. Jackson Dart, Will Rogers, Jaden Daniels, these are all guys that are better passers than what you just saw. That worries me, Daryl.
It does. The secondary has got to step up. I know that they had a couple of interceptions by Anderson that helped, but if they didn't have those picks, where are we at? The fact that, they threw the ball deep and A&M knew that they were going to throw the ball. That was the thing that also hurt.
They did. They did know. Let's hit a break here. We'll come back with your big 3 takeaways, plus what would a win signify? That and more here on TexAgs Radio. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. KBTX Roundtable here as Daryl Bruffett and Nicole Griffith are with us. All right, so let's get into the big three observations, the KBTX big three observations. Nicole, I'm going to let you start us off. What are your big three?
I think the biggest takeaway was Bryce Anderson's 2 takeaways. I think just seeing him celebrate on the sideline, getting the interception, and I stayed so I shoot the ball coming to me, so I got the interception. And then I went and saw him on the sideline celebrating with DJ Jerkin. And then I started walking/running to the other sideline. And then it was an interception the other way. So it's like I didn't even make it all the way. So
she got her steps in.
I think Bryce had such a great game, but it was overshadowed by the loss and the offense's inability to take advantage. So I'm not trying to be like a downer, but that was my first one. The second one is the offensive line just needs to protect Max better. The back-to-back sacks that led to a safety can't happen. And then the third takeaway, I kind of was playing off of the third largest crowd in stadium history. So I've only been here in Aggie land for 2 years, so that's the largest crowd I've seen, and I'm sure how many large crowds you guys have been a part of, but that was pretty awesome to be a part of.
It was.
Yeah, disappointing that they didn't deliver a win for all those people that came out there. My 3 takeaways, one comes from video that Nicole posted on her Twitter account, was Walter Nolan walking off the field crying.
I'm going to talk to Walter later today.
And Billy and I were talking in your lobby. I can't tell you the last time that we saw a player be emotionally that invested into where when they got beat, they were sad about it.
He was sobbing.
Yeah, so, I mean, the fact that this guy cared that much, I think that's what the 12th man wants to see.
Heck yeah.
I don't know that you want to see all your guys out there crying and bawling, but you do want to see them, upset that they didn't win. And because I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it was Alabama and you had them on the ropes and you couldn't deliver the knockout punch.
Yeah.
So that's one of them. My second one, I've said this in here multiple times, and everybody knows it. Man, you have got to get touchdowns and not field goals. I mean, I think Randy Bond's great, and, when he has to kick a 50-something yarder when it's 3rd and 8, send him out there. But, when it's 4th and 1, you got to, or, 3rd and 3, you got to get 3 yards. You got to get the drive. You got to get the touchdowns. And then my last one is you got to play complementary football. I mean, you get the pick. You can't turn around and make Nicole run to the other end of the field.
Yeah.
You got to
think about me.
You got to be able to do something with that, and because you get the momentum going, and then you score, you get more momentum going, and I just think that you get the 12th man all revved up, and man, that makes it even more difficult for a team to come back.
Now, I have not fact-checked this information that was sent in from Edward in Austin, and I'm sure he uses Google well. He says Joe Milton is 19 of 57 on passes deeper than 10 yards. So not very efficient. So what we're saying, there's a chance.
But we're going with it.
We're going to go with it for right now. No fact check. My friends, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Thank you. All right, we're going to hit a break. When we come back, Jordan Pugh going to join us, talk a little defense. A&M defense. They need to talk. That's next on TexAgs Radio. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's keep it real with straight facts. Jordan Pugh joining us here on the program. Jordan, after the Miami game, you actually gave me some optimism, okay? You were optimistic, and you were right? So I'm going to ask you, after this Bama game, are we optimistic or are we like, I don't know?
You know, I've dreaded coming on the show today because I've been trying to figure out how I feel, right? So initially watching the game, it's kind of like, what is this? So here's the word. The word is disappointed. I think that's where I'm at. I think I'm more disappointed. Now, we can go through it and we can talk about how this team is not dead, how they're right on the cusp. But to me, that's the problem. That's where the disappointment lies. So let's get into it. The front seven and the D-line, I thought played phenomenal, okay, in the game. I thought it was outstanding what our D-line did, the pressures that they got. I don't know how many sacks they had, but I was looking at, I think it was 23 total rushing yards Alabama had on offense, okay? So they did what they were supposed to do. They did what they thought what they could do. I thought they were phenomenal. What failed us and what the concern I had going into the week came true was the secondary. Secondary was absolutely terrible. The secondary was absolute garbage. Okay, we're just gonna be honest. Jalen Milroe played his best overall game that he's played all season long. It looked like he figured out his rhythm. He figured out what he is within that offense. But what we were concerned about was the big plays that he can do, the big throws, because that's what he's known for. And I mean, to get beat over and over again on those big throws, that was disappointing from a fan standpoint. Also, I thought it was a tale of two halves. First half, I thought we played extremely well as a team. The second half, I thought we stalled out offensively, and I thought we weren't as aggressive defensively in the second half. I thought Alabama outcoached us when it came to the second half just overall. I thought they made the adjustments on offense. I thought they made even better adjustments on defense, and you saw that take over in the game as well. Then as far as the rest of the game is concerned, I think, we talk about the turnovers. The one thing that I don't want anybody to miss is the interception we threw after Bryce Anderson got his interception. I thought that was the momentum swing in the game. Now, I know we can get to the clock management at the end of the game, block field goal, all that good stuff. But I think that was the one, because that, we get the momentum back starting in the third quarter. They intercept that ball. They're in our territory. I just think that had a lot to do with the turn of momentum in that game. So overall, I am not out on the team. Overall, I think there's a lot more to play for. There's a lot more to do. But I'm disappointed in the fact that we had an opportunity to have a stranglehold on the SEC West, and we missed it. We didn't take advantage of it. And that's where the disappointment lies. It's not the same as last year with this team, with a lot of the deficiencies we had. It's more so we know what we're capable of. We have all the tools and the pieces. We were at home against Alabama. We had them on the ropes, and then we found a way to lose it. That's what's more disappointing than anything.
All right, let's get into some facts. What's the first one you want to throw out at us?
Well, that's kind of what I got into at the beginning, man. I just think that the first thing was the D-line. I thought the D-line, man, they did everything that they needed to do to win the game. I thought they forced enough pressure. They got the sacks on Milroe. They kept him in the pocket. And they did exactly what I wanted them to do at the beginning of the game, or in the game, was force Milroe to throw. That was his weakness. But the problem is his weakness became his strength, because I think it was a weakness on weakness as far as matchups. So I just think, man, our defensive line is good. Our defensive line is going to win us a lot of football games. I just think we got into a position, man, where we just couldn't make plays in the back end. And that goes into to the second fact that I mentioned earlier too, was our back end play. I thought we got outcoached in that area. Or, well, let me not say outcoached. I think we didn't make an adjustment fast enough. At the beginning of the game, they were dead set on Burton in the matchup with DeBerry. And I think they were taking full advantage of that. And we didn't make an adjustment. We didn't have a safety over the top. A lot of the situations that you saw with him was one-on-one coverage, or it was a cover three type concept. But DeBerry bit on a lot of the fakes. He was too passive in coverage, and I just think he was out of his element this week, and we didn't make a lot of those adjustments. So I just think from a coaching standpoint, schematic standpoint, when we saw what they were trying to do, because it was very evident in the passing game what weakness they were trying to exploit, we didn't make the adjustment. So I'm I'm disappointed in that aspect. Players have bad games. That stuff happens. But as a coach, you got to be able to adjust. So I just think, man, like, especially with those two, I thought we did what we needed to do defensively to win. I thought we did enough through 3 quarters offensively, enough until that 4th quarter. And I think we just kind of melted down a little bit offensively. So those are kind of just my takeaways from the game. The theme of the day is just disappointment, though. I'm just disappointed because it's like, come on. It was laid out there for you. The red carpet was laid out, man. All we had to do was walk down and take our shot at the throne. So I think we mishandled that, and we didn't take advantage of that.
Talking to Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. So let's go back to Josh DeBerry and just any DB that's being picked on. It seemed like they knew that's where they were going to go early on. What have teams that you've been on in the past that have players that are being picked on, what can you do? And, like, what can you do in the future is better said, because you're going to take on some quarterbacks that are better passers than Jalen Milroe. So how do you help him or whoever it may be, if it's Tyreek Chappelle one day or whatever the matchup problem is?
Well, let's go back to Miami. So what Alabama did was they saw the Miami tape. They saw what our secondary did in Miami, in particular DeBerry on a lot of man-to-man coverages. So they knew the matchup was there. They said that our receiver Burton was better than your DB. That's what they said. And so they knew they were going to exploit that. From a defensive standpoint, there's a lot of things that you can do. One, the pressure is everything when it comes to that. Now, from the D-line perspective, they did their job. But when they don't get home, you got to be able to mix in some zones. You got to be able to mix in some too high and bring that safety over the top to help DeBerry out. I think that they left them in a lot of one-on-one situations when they knew the matchup wasn't favorable for them. I think you could have run a lot more fire zones. You could have run a lot more shells, a lot more trap coverages in order to help him, allow him to be more aggressive on the underneath routes, but also to know he has protection over the top. I just don't think, as the game went on, man, you didn't give him that, and he started to lose confidence. And as a player, man, I've been there before. When you have one of those days, it's like, man, I can't get out of my own way. It's hard to get through that. And so I just didn't think the coaching overall helped him in that particular setting and just throughout the game. You saw them make a change later on. I want to say it was maybe the 3rd quarter, if I'm not mistaken, where they made the change. But by then, it was too late. The damage had been done. And so, that's one of those deals, man, where you wish the coach would chime in and be like, okay, let's mix in some zones. Let's roll the safety over the top. Worst case scenario, man, let's switch DBs out and see what we can do. Because I saw Harmon come in later on in that game, but by then the rhythm was in place on offense. Burton had it going, and so you're asking a hard task from that as well. So that's what I would do. That's what I think should have been done. Just more to help him out when you see him struggling like that.
Jordan, what did Bama do differently in the second half to get so into the backfield? Were they more aggressive? Did our offensive line get tired? Because they were a good defense all game long, but in the second half, they dialed it up, man.
Well, I think we didn't mix up our plays as much as we did in the first half offensively. This is the one time that I'll get on Petrino. I thought that the rhythm of the play calling was a little predictable, and it allowed the guys, Kevin Steele on the Alabama side, allowed him to tee up a lot more on defense. But also there was a lot of times where the offensive line just got whooped, just point blank period. They just got ran through. They didn't uphold on their blocks, and it didn't allow Max to be able to step into the pocket, have any type of poise within the pocket or confidence to be able to step up and throw. But I think a lot of that had to do with the rhythm of the play calling in the second half. This is where the disappointment comes in with the offense. And maybe this is the best way to frame it. I thought that we weren't aggressive offensively in the second half. I thought we were aggressive offensively in the first half, but I think that we took I don't want to say took our foot off the gas, but I don't think we pushed down on the gas pedal as much as we could have. Because you saw, Anais, you saw Moves, you saw Evan get loose in the first half, man. You saw a lot of the matchup issues in the secondary where we thought they could win a lot, and we were taking advantage of that. But you didn't see a lot of that in the second half. You didn't see a lot of the ball movements. You didn't see a lot of the quarterback movement plays, boots and waggles with Max. I just think that we got stagnant, and I think we didn't take full advantage and go full throttle on the offensive side of the football.
We are talking to Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Radio. Jordan, let's talk a little bit about how the defense, as good as they were, defensive line, and they did put pressure on Milroe in the second half. It wasn't the same as the first half. Now, Maybe it was, and they just didn't get as many sacks, right? But you went from 4 to 2, but it just didn't feel like they were living in the backfield as much. Did you see that as well?
Well, I thought a lot of that was just situational football. So, for example, in the second half, we get to pick with Bryce Anderson, and then all of a sudden we turn around and throw the interception. They're on the short side of the field in our own area. So I think that has a lot to do with it, too. Also, the defense played a lot more snaps in the second half as well, right? So I think Alabama found a rhythm. You saw what they were doing with Milroe, how they were moving the pocket on him and giving him 1 to 2 reads and allowing him to play faster. I think that's a lot of the adjustment that Alabama made, which nullified our D-line because they knew our D-line was the strength. I think that's the adjustment that they made in the second half. So a lot of the throws that Milroe had outside of the deep balls were a lot of quick rhythm throws, which didn't allow our D-line to get upfield as much. So I think that's what you saw. I think you saw a coaching adjustment in the second half that voided out our D-line. And then you got to give props to Saban Alabama with that.
So Tennessee can throw the ball, right? Joe Milton's a pretty good quarterback, right? I mean, he's not Hendon Hooker. And we got a stat that was thrown our way that I don't know if I can use it again because I don't know how – I have to kind of go back and fact check it. But overall, do you see a scenario where, all right, man, we got to Jalen Milroe a lot and it still didn't matter. Do you see them being more aggressive or less aggressive with their blitz packages and whatnot based on what has happened against Bama and what could happen with these throwing quarterbacks?
That's a good question.
I know.
That's a good question.
That's what I do.
Man, if it's twofold. So I don't think from a quarterback standpoint, it's a big drop-off, okay, from Hendon Hooker. I think it's a big drop-off. I think he has a slow time processing defenses. So I think this is the type of game where you have a lot more zone pressures. Okay, you bring in the blitz, but you run a lot of zone behind it because I think he has a hard time processing coverages. Okay, now with that being said, what you have to look at is the matchup on the outside. What does their receiving core look like? I haven't done enough deep dive on that to get a full answer on that, but are they the same as they were last year, like a Hyatt at the receiver position, a guy who can win a lot of one-on-one
Jalen Hyatt's gone.
battles?
He's in the NFL.
Right.
Brew McCoy injured for the rest of the year. They're number one. So Squirrel White becomes the number one option now.
So with that being said, now I'm more comfortable in the zone pressures. I just think with Milton, he can't. I think his issue is he has the ability, he has the arm talent, but it's this processing. And I think if you slow down that process and you allow your pass rush to get there, and then you allow your DBs to thrive a little bit more, because now he becomes more predictable in the pass game. I'm not the concern with us is never going to be the front this year. This year, that's just where our strength is, and I mean we've been dominant. We're the best in the country when it comes to that. I just think we have to find a way to protect. We have to find a way to stay aggressive, but protect our back end at the same time. To me, that's the key this week. Is how can you find that right situation, that right schematic point where you can do both. I think we have the players to do it, but now it's dialing up and being able to protect those guys. I think that will help us a lot and help us shore up a lot of things on defense.
What'd you think of them going for it on 4th and 1 to start the game? What'd you think about the 4th and 1 midfield? What'd you think about some of the decision making?
Okay, so the 4th and 1 of the 4th and 1s, that was in our territory. We had field goal. We were in field goal range, correct? On one of those 4th and 1s.
The first one, yeah, we were in field goal range.
Yes. Okay, that's what I thought. I thought you got to get points. At the end of the day, this game is about points, and you're playing a team like Bama, a team that you have to beat. You have to take them out while you have the chance. I just think that you get points in that situation early in the game. The one at midfield, I why? You know what I mean? There's your defense is playing well. At that point, I'm having full confidence in what we can do defensively. I know that there's some issues secondary-wise, but I got to put my trust in that. I thought we were aggressive at the wrong time. All right, so now we're being aggressive in the first quarter. That's where it goes to the end of the game. All right, end of the game. I thought the clock management at the end, after they overturned the Nice's touchdown, what we were doing there, I thought we needed to be more aggressive in that situation. It could have put us in a better light. I just think that's one where you're trying to make a statement, but I don't think the statement needs to be made at that point in time in the game, right? I think that's one of those where you got to play the odds. You got to use the analytics if you want to use that and get points on the board, but also put your team in the best position to be successful. I think we didn't do that in those situations.
Jordan, I'm going to play this. I've done this on the air a couple times, so for our audience, I apologize, but I'm just going to play it with you real quick. You kicked the field goal to start the game as opposed to go for it. You got 3 points there. By the way, you lost by 6, so now your lead is 3. Okay, you get your field goal blocked. Well, don't get it blocked, right? Block better. Sorry, block better.
Right,
I hope I can expect that.
That's
okay?
simple. It's that simple. Yep.
And by the way, where you had the short side of the field, you should have gotten 7, but get 3. Okay.
Yep.
Don't give up the safety. Okay, you win 26-24. I mean, I just made it super simple. What happens right there?
And that's where it goes to the word I said at the beginning: disappointment. You had the opportunity to put them away, and you didn't do it. Not only that, you have Alabama at its weakest point that it's been in a long time, and you didn't do it. Not only that, the SEC is wide open, and we didn't take advantage of it. Now, that's not to say that a lot of things can't play out and somehow miraculously we can find our way back. I'm not saying that. But that was where it's more disappointing. Now, I do have to say this, okay? I thought Max played well. I didn't think he was anything. Well, how do I want to say this? Average. Average is the best word. I didn't think he was above average. I didn't think he was good or great. I thought he was just average. Good. I think it's a different outcome if Connor plays. Here's why I say that. A lot of times there was opportunities for Max to use his feet. And I think if Wegman is playing in the game, he uses his feet in a lot of those situations where he took sacks. And I think that changed a lot of the outcome of the game too. A lot of times when Alabama loses games, they lose games through mobile quarterbacks and certain situational play by those quarterbacks. I think Connor was getting into his zone. If you take the 2 games, Auburn, you have Arkansas, but then you roll into the Alabama game, and I think there's a certain rhythm and a certain confidence he's playing with. And I think there was something missing in that quarterback position. Max just looked, he was good, but there were certain times I'm like, Max, throw it. You have guys that are open. You have guys that are available. He was almost analysis by paralysis to me, what it looked like. I think that played a factor in the game. I don't think it played a factor in us winning or losing per se, because I don't want to put that on him. I just thought there was opportunities for him to take advantage of certain situations, and he didn't do that for whatever reason. So I just wonder what that outcome would look like if Connor was playing.
All right, let's close out with this. Tennessee game becomes, look, every week you hope that these games matter to the biggest point of the season. But to me, this Tennessee game is the line in the sand moment, right? You win this game. All right, not ideal that you've lost to already, but you've taken on probably the best teams you're going to face the rest of the way. Probably, not for sure, right? You lose this game, then you start thinking to yourself, how are you going to stop Jackson Dart? How are you going to stop Jaden Daniels? How are you going to stop Will Rogers? Like, there's a lot of passing quarterbacks. So just talk about the importance of this game where you haven't won on the road in 7 games, a true road game, and they have not lost at home in 12 games.
This makes me think of what I said at the beginning of the season. If not now, when? That's what I keep thinking about going into this week. This is one of those, like you said, draw a line in the sand type of games for the team, but I think also for Jimbo. Now, I hate to go down that route as far as the coaching side, but, man, too many opportunities have slipped away. And there has to be a statement that's made moving forward with the team. And I think you need to see that going into this Tennessee game. I think this Tennessee game is crucial. 1, it keeps us in play with a lot of the goals that we want to reach. But 2, it's also building upon what the rest of the season is going to look like. Remember, Alabama is a high. It is a high. You're playing your best. You're ratchet up forward. You're ready to go because there's a statement that can be made. Now, when that high has been brought down, how do you respond and how do you react? That's going to be the most important thing. So Jimbo's task is getting these guys ready and understand that every week is a Super Bowl now. And so that's what I want to be able to see from the team is how do we react coming off of that? And then how do we fight our way back into contention? Because things can play out. There's 6 more games, whatever it is, 6, 7 more games. There's ways that certain things can play out. So the season is not done, but we have to be able to combat that. We have to be able to grow, and the maturity factor is going to play a big role this week going into Tennessee.
Jordan, I appreciate it, brother. Talk to you next week.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you so much. Jordan Pugh, straight facts here on the program. All right, we're going to hit a break. When we come back here on TexAgs Radio, we're going to talk a little track and field, actually cross country. Big, huge meet coming up this weekend. We'll talk to Coach Henry after that. We'll get a Tennessee insider's perspective on the fall season. Right now, we're talking Association of Former Students. If your organization or your business is looking for an opportunity to engage with other Aggies, then you need to check out the Association of Former Students, who have these events all year long that bring Aggies of all ages together. You got the marquee events such as Aggie Rain Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo Gathering, and they all welcome tens of thousands of guests. And there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of these attendees. All events offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. Options include title sponsoring, naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition in social media posts, and much, much more. There are also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and Aggie Newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. For more information and see all the options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. Again, that is sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. We are back, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Time to talk a little cross country and track and field. My good friend Pat Henry in the house, who I saw, was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, we went to Fargo's,
Yeah.
took somebody over there for lunch, and God, you guys are in there.
We were in there, and Coach Wendell McCraven in the house as well. Hello, sir.
Hello. How you doing?
So I was asking at the break, so many folks who've been watching this show the last couple of years know Eric Casares does our News and Social Center during the spring, and you're saying he's blowing you up, talking podcasts, sports, everything, right? That guy can talk sports all day.
Yeah, he loves it. He's got his podcast that he talks about NFL. This time of the year, it's just all NFL football all week, all the time.
He loves that stuff. All right, let's talk about cross country because it's a great start so far, right?
Yeah, I mean, his group is Coach McCraven coaches all of our distance athletes, and of course, coaches our cross country team, and has been with me a long time now, and has developed a program that's really come along. And we happen to be hosting a meet this week, and these things don't just happen. He's worked real hard for this to happen, and it's taken a long time because the course has got to mature and it's got to develop its own reputation, and you got to have some big meets out there so that it spreads around the country, the quality of the course. Well, the McFerrin and the Watts and the Hildebrand family who built that course did a tremendous job. And, for the community this week to come out on a Friday morning at 8:30 and be done by 10 o'clock. You can watch 400 people start on one line twice, and you get to stand up on this mound for the length of the finish, which is about 700 meters, and you get to watch a finish, and you get to see what this is all about. I think it's just a great opportunity for people. This is one of those things in athletics, when you leave this one, you'll be really happy you came, because you just don't see this kind of thing, and it's fun. There's no joggers out here.
Right.
There ain't nobody out here jogging. These people are running hard. They finish, and they're trying to finish. They're trying to win as a team, not as an individual. They're trying to win this thing as a team, and as you can see, we have teams from all over the country.
Yeah, Coach McCraven, look at this. You got from the SEC, A&M, LSU, obviously, but then all the other conferences are there, Big 12, ACC, Big 10, Pac-12, other schools as well. Just talk a little bit about the talent that's coming to town.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, we have all the Power 5 conferences represented. We have, I told Coach Henry when I looked at, we have 8 of the 9 NCAA regions represented, so it truly is an interregional competition. Some big names. It's great to have some of those schools here for the first time Boston College has ever been, first time Georgia Tech's been here. Louisville's coming from the ACC.
UCLA.
Indiana, UCLA. First time we had a Pac-12 school come to our meet and stuff. Yeah. It's kind of, and I think like Coach said, it's coaches are a little bit, we all tend to be a little conservative in our decision making. We're kind of lemmings in some cases. We follow what's everybody else doing. And I think our course has started to get a great reputation. I think our people at Texas A&M do an unbelievable job putting on home events. I mean, it's a professional operation. People walk away from our cross-country meets like, wow, you guys did a phenomenal job. And we're always looking how we can do things better, but we've had great people. We've had Brian Bancroft for years doing a phenomenal job with the operations side of things. Now we have Josh Lockhart, who's joined us and doing a great job, and Chris Harrell, all the guys, the people out at the Hildebrand Center. I mean, Steve Cannon and his crew keep the course in great shape. Nick McKenna and the field crew do a great job.
Even during the drought.
Yeah, I mean, they're watering out there. We don't have permanent irrigation. That's the one thing that one area we could improve is getting permanent irrigation eventually. But they do a great job out there, and we're really fortunate.
The start line's a football field wide and 700 meters long. So it is a huge field, and it's really, you can come down off of the mound and be right beside the people running if you want to. You can park, everyone can park within 100 meters of the start of this race. So it's not like you have to walk across the countryside to get to where the meet's going on. Within 100 meters, we have great parking, and you can be right there.
Well, people need to come out and check it out. Let's talk a little bit about how the first couple races have gone, because you had the John McKenzie Invitational and the A&M Invitational, and very successful for you all.
Yeah, we've been pleased. Kind of the season, every year we talk about trying to set up the season so every meet gets better than the previous one, and that's kind of the way it's been. We went, we won the TCU meet pretty easily. I mean, not pretty handily. Then we won our home invitational, a little bit more challenging. Then went up to Boston and we saw some teams that we hadn't seen previously. And the women, we kind of discovered our women's team's pretty good. Oh, wow, our women's team's better than we thought they were. We didn't know how good they were going to be. And the men, we also discovered the men's side that one guy can make a significant difference. We were fifth with one guy running a little bit better. All of a sudden, we're second. Yeah. And so this week we're going to see even better competition teams and a big field where they're going to learn some things about themselves. If we, and this is a time of year because cross country, that whole SEC schedule is the SEC meet, one meet. The regional meet, the national meet, they're all just one day. So all these meets during the regular season are really, they're important, but they're preparation for those meets. So we learn some things. We go out there and compete. And if we're going to take some risks, let's take risks now. Let's experiment. We did that last year on the men's side, and we beat a pretty good Ohio State team by kind of taking some risks and trying to figure out how we could be aggressive early in the race. And I'm sure we'll take some risks this weekend. Maybe we'll make some mistakes. Maybe we'll come out on the positive end for sure.
Excuse the ignorance, but home field advantage does matter, or does it not?
Yeah. I think so for sure, because you hit a certain point in the course, you just know what the next turn. It just when you've run a course a number of times, it seems mentally it goes by a lot quicker.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know it. They come up this really sharp incline at what they think is going to be the finish line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an incline. It's probably 15 degrees.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And they get to the top, and they get to the top of that little hill, and they start. It's 700 meters still to the finish line, so it's a challenging course. In our administration, we had a meeting after our last home meet. They indicated we don't have any way of funneling everybody through the same entrance, so we don't worry about charging anybody.
Right.
So I think we should, but we aren't yet. But they said there's 4,000 people out there at the last meet watching. So we have good attendance. Could get better all the time, but this kind of meet is the one where the community is supposed to be a great morning, great weather. It would be fun for them to come out.
Let's close out with the new facility opening January 13th. How excited finally. We talked about last year was tough.
Yeah, last year was real tough, and we aren't in it yet because I'm worried about the next 3 months of being so cold or getting cold that really we're out of a facility for 2 years of training wise. Right. So it definitely has some effects, but no, we're really looking forward to it. I think people are going to be surprised when they walk in the front door at what this place looks like. There's seating all the way around on this one, so people are going to enjoy that aspect of it too. But it's a beautiful facility, and I think they're really going to have a great time coming and watching people run, jump, and throw.
Coach Henry, Coach McCraven, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
When we come back on TexAgs Radio, let's get a Tennessee's insider's perspective on the Vols. We'll talk about that and get to your text messages next on TexAgs Radio. TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's get to know Tennessee a little bit. A team that I keep on saying, I don't know. They haven't played a lot of somebody's, right? But we know the reputation. We know the brand. We know the offense. So let's get to know them. Eric Kane from On3 and VolQuest.com joining us here on TexAgs. What's going on, Eric? How you doing, bud?
Hey, doing well. Appreciate you having me on.
Hey, man. No, thank you for joining the show. So talk to me about Tennessee. How good are they this year? Are they still a TBD at this point of the season? It sounds weird saying that out loud. Are they close to last year's team potentially? They had that loss against Florida. Just give me like a little bit of a preview of what kind of team A&M can expect.
Yeah, I mean, this Tennessee team, you're starting to figure out a little bit more who they are as the season goes along, obviously. I think the one big difference offensively, the team is not as explosive. Not a whole lot of down-the-field passing as you saw last year with Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman and company. But it's a really good running football team, and it's kind of hung its hat on that running game so far this year. Defensively, it's been getting after the quarterback, and that's been good to see. And I think overall, defensively, it's taken a step. So still trying to figure itself out a little bit, and the offense has looked a little bit better as the season's gone on. But I would say the one big difference between this year offensively and last year offensively is the lack of explosive plays.
Talking to Eric Kane here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, let's talk about Joe Milton. I had a stat come my way. Tell me if this is true or not, because I'm using it. Joe Milton is 19 of 57 on throws deeper than 10 yards. Is that true? Has he not been that accurate on deeper throws, or is that just out of nowhere?
No, that stat sounds like it's pretty accurate. They have thrown a lot at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage, a lot of screen passes, a lot of dinks and dunks. They have taken some shots down the field with some games, and then other games it feels like that's just not really even been in the repertoire, haven't really been in the playbook. And I'll say this, Joe Milton, sure, that stat sounds bad. I mean, he's certainly not been as accurate as he would like on those throws. Early in the season, man, these receivers, they dropped a lot of passes. And, the coaches, you hear the offensive coordinator, Joey Halsley and Josh Heupel say, well, it's not just Joe Milton, it's the passing game, it's the operation, it's these new receivers. They're not, they're running a route too tight or too wide or whatever the case may be. So there has been some difficulty in the connections down the field. That stat sounds right because he has certainly struggled with passes, 10, 15 yards down the field, whereas a lot of the Tennessee game plan has been at or behind the line of scrimmage. Kind of an extension of the run game.
So that makes me wonder, like, you've seen the playbook Miami had against A&M. You saw the playbook Alabama had against A&M. The deeper passes, in Miami, there were a lot of issues tackling. So that there was that, too. Do you expect Tennessee to maybe try to go at A&M, especially deep?
I do. I do expect that. And, again, they've taken some shots in a couple of games, and it felt like, that Florida game where Tennessee lost early in the year, they took some shots, and Joe Milton had a better game, throwing down the field, hit a couple of those throws down the field, and Tennessee was able to spark some big plays. I think with the opportunity that's there, just based on film and the games we've seen so far, I do expect Tennessee to try and take some shots down the field. Now, Ramel Keaton's got to help you out. Squirrel White's going to be a guy they're going to try to target down the field. You don't have Brew McCoy. Maybe the tight ends can be more of a factor in that. But because A&M is so good at stopping the run, and Tennessee's still going to try to run the football, don't hear me wrong, but because A&M is so good at stopping the run, I do believe that some play-action passes to shots down the field is something to expect from Tennessee's offense, even though there's not been a whole lot of success with that this year to this point.
All right, let's talk about that run game because Tennessee relies on it. They run against everybody, over 230 yards a game, I think it is. The only game that they did not do that was against Florida. And Florida, to me, has a defensive line that's maybe built similar to A&M. I would say not as effective as A&M. So how does that part of it play out?
Yeah, I think a lot of Tennessee's issues at the Florida game, and certainly I know A&M has struggled on the road, here the last couple of years as well. But the last couple of games, Tennessee's been in that road environment, Southeastern Conference, Wild, all that type of stuff. Been a whole lot of, pre-snap penalties. You're first and 15, you're second and 12. I mean, you're starting behind the sticks, if that makes sense. And I think a lot of that played into Tennessee not being able to run the football as effectively against Florida. Now, give Florida credit. Florida played a great game, and you're right. I think Florida's defensive line kind of measures up to where A&M's defensive line is compared to other defensive lines that we've seen so far this year if you're Tennessee. So I'm intrigued to see kind of what's there. This offensive line for Tennessee has been very much a work in progress. You look at a stat sheet and it'll say, oh, well, Tennessee's offensive line's only given up 5 sacks this year. Now, some of that's misleading. They've been rotating in a whole lot of guys. There's been a whole lot of pressure. There's been, guys at Joe Milton's feet when he's trying to throw the football. So it's been okay. It's not been great, but I think they were still very much kind of rotating some guys in and out of that lineup when Tennessee was playing against Florida. So I'm intrigued to see what this run game is going to look like. Jalen Wright's having a great year. But Jabari Small is a guy that Tennessee's going to give the football to. And then you have Dylan Sampson, who's kind of that third option, but he's kind of a home run hitter. And he'll spell both of those guys. So Tennessee has 3 really good running backs, an offensive line that got its center back against South Carolina 2 weeks ago, which was just massive in Cooper Mays. And they feel good about running the football, and that's what they're going to try to do. But obviously, it's going to be tough sledding.
A little bit more on Squirrel White and Brew McCoy being out for the year. Just how does next man up, pecking order, how does that change the way that they attack teams moving forward?
Yeah, Brew McCoy is, obviously he's a good receiver and he's a name that everybody knows. But Brew McCoy, one of his biggest attributes for this offense was his physicality. And I mentioned those screen passes at and around the line of scrimmage earlier. Brew McCoy, along with Jacob Warren and McCown Castle, the 2 tight ends, they're out there blocking on those screen passes. And Brew McCoy can be seen blocking down the field on some of these long runs that get sparked into the end zone. So Tennessee is really going to miss the physicality nature of Brew McCoy moving forward. Now, in terms of who's going to take the spot, I think Tennessee's going to have a collection of guys. Caleb Webb, a sophomore receiver, was the first one that came in when Brew McCoy went down. Another sophomore wide receiver in Chaz Nimrod is a guy that's going to get some snaps. And then Dante Thornton, a really nice transfer, portal addition from over the offseason from Oregon. He had a whole lot of hype coming into the season. Haven't seen it materialize so far, but he's a guy that can play slot and on the outside. And he missed last game against South Carolina. He's got a hamstring issue. We'll see where he is as the week goes on, but I think it can be a combination of those 3 guys, of Dante Thornton, Chaz Nimrod, and Caleb Webb, probably with Caleb Webb starting things out. And then on Squirrel White, he had 9 targets, 9 receptions, and 104 yards against South Carolina. He's going to play in the slot. They're going to utilize him early and often. And he's a guy that is small, but he's also a deep threat. He's got great speed and great vision down the field to go up and get a football. And so Tennessee is going to rely on him even more now with that injury to Brew McCoy.
We're talking to Eric Kane here of allquest.com. Eric, let's talk about how Joe Milton doesn't get sacked very often. So is it the line that I know you already mentioned the starting center has been back? Is it Milton's ability to be a bigger quarterback? It's hard to take down. Is it because they haven't taken on those fronts? Tell me why.
So, Joe Milton, I think, has gotten rid of the football in a hurry. Again, a lot of passes out to the perimeter. We call it sideways passing over allquest.com. I think that has something to do with it. I think that he's been in college for 6 years. He's played a whole lot of football, and so I think that he has most of the time a pretty good gauge on when to go ahead and get rid of it. And again, the offensive line, it's been very much a work in progress. It's been far from perfect, and you've been without your best one in Cooper Mays for every game up until the South Carolina game 2 weeks ago before the bye. So you've been without a key cog there in the middle. So it's been far from perfect, but it's not been horrible. So I think it's a little bit of everything. Credit the offensive line, credit Joe Milton and knowing kind of when to get rid of the football, and a lot of the play calling has been getting rid of the football very quickly. So I think it's a combination of all those things, but obviously it's a tough challenge awaits for that offensive line. We know of the defensive line prowess of Texas A&M, how it's one of the best in the SEC, and it's shown that so far this year. And so it's going to be a big week for the line of scrimmage play, both for Tennessee and for Texas A&M.
All right, let's close out with this. What do you expect Neyland Stadium to be like, considering they've won 12 straight, and this is a huge game for both teams in where they go this season, and the fact, maybe remind us of some of the victories they've seen in those 12 straight. I know Alabama last year is one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I expect this to be an incredible environment. It was really good, the night game against South Carolina 2 weeks ago before Tennessee was off this past weekend. That was really good. It was a much-needed environment because Tennessee needed to get that first win in SEC play. But yeah, I mean, Tennessee's got this streak going at Neyland Stadium where you're just not losing. And it's going to be the CBS 3:30 kick. It's going to be Checker Neyland. I mean, they're kind of pulling out all the fireworks. And so it's going to be a really, really good environment. And again, you referenced some of those games, not only the Alabama game, the Florida game last year is another one that comes to mind. Tennessee was in control of that football game. And exciting ending, as is always the case with Tennessee and Florida, but that was another huge win in front of the home faithful and a couple other ones as well. So these fans have been used to seeing winning football in Neyland Stadium. They've done their part. It's going to be super loud. It's going to be tough pre-snap, and I think that's going to be a storyline for anybody that comes into Neyland Stadium, especially a team and the caliber of Texas A&M. So should be a really good environment. Should be a really good football game, and I think we're all looking forward to it.
Eric, we'll see you this weekend, man. Thanks for making a little time for us.
Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Eric Kane there, VolQuest.com. All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back, get into some stats you need to know. And some of them hurt, some of them are good. Right now, we're talking Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You can find them multiple ways. You can find them online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com or just go down Highway 21. You'll find it. Trust me, you won't go the wrong way. I hope not. But they have great deals on the website, and the whole thing is about getting the right deal at the right price at the right time in your family's life, right? So if you are in the market for a new vehicle, if you're in the market for a vehicle because you have a kid that's at that age that it's now time to get a vehicle, go to caldwellcountrychevrolet.com and start your search there. You'll see the prices, you'll see the vehicles that they have, and you're going to be blown away by that. But then when you go on the lot, you're going to love the customer service, the people, and the vehicles, right? They have it all when you go there. The complimentary pickup that they have for their service customers is second to none. That I can guarantee. I've seen it firsthand myself, and I think you will love what you get there from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. If you want a new deal, that's where you go. Simply call, click, or stop by Caldwell Country Chevrolet. 15-minute drive from the far end of Bryan to the near end of Caldwell. You're going to see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the good people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. There's a thing called Bring Your Kid to Work Day. Today, we're bringing Dad to Work Day. Welcome into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Ethan Jones in the house, our stats, what do I call you? Stat junkie? Stat guru?
It doesn't really matter. All of them work.
My man who gives me some amazing stats for the week and gets us ready for the game. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I guess my dad's here, right back there. No one can see him, so let's bring Dad to Work Day. Get this fall break.
Let's see if you get a little nervous with him.
Oh, I'm going to get nervous.
I'm going to send you some really hard questions.
Okay.
Actually, you set the tone because I'm looking at the notes, the report you made for me. And the word painful is the first word that jumps out at me when I look at it. Painful because so many stats were trending in A&M's favor.
Yeah, there was. First of all, I'll go over is like first half versus second half. We were up 17-10 at halftime. We looked like we had the game in control. Coming out of the locker room, Alabama made a bunch of adjustments. We had no answer, and the stats show this. First half, we had 203 yards gained. Second half, only 103. Yards per carry first half, 2.6. Second half, 1 yard per carry. Third down difference. So we were 26% better on third downs. We were 43% on third downs. They were only 17% on third downs in the first half. Second half completely flipped. We were 20% on third downs. They were 50%. Sacks in the first half, 4. Second half, only 2. Sacks allowed. Our offensive line was looking fine in the first half. Only 1 sack allowed. Second half, 4 sacks allowed. Big plays in the first half, we had 5, which is like 20-plus yard.
Right.
Our 15-plus yard passing plays, our 10-plus yard rushing plays. First half, 5. Second half, 1. Big plays allowed. First half, 4. Second half, 6. And then red zone trips, we had 3 in the first half, only 1 in the second half.
Goodness gracious, buddy.
A complete flip of the script.
And then the turnovers, A&M forcing 2, but how many points were they able to get off of that?
0 points, and then Alabama was able to get 7 points off our 1 turnover.
That's the game.
Yeah,
right?
We dropped those opportunities. Also in the red zone, we had 4 red zone trips. We only scored 1 touchdown, had 2 field goals, and a turnover on downs. We weren't able to score in the red zone, and we weren't able to score off turnovers.
All right, we've got about a minute and a half left. Not even a minute and a half. Minute 10. Tennessee, they're a team that can move the ball offensively. Rushing is the number that you looked at initially.
Mm-hmm. They averaged 231.2 rushing yards per game, which is 7th in the nation, and 6.18 yards per carry, 2nd in the nation. So great running team. They have 3 running backs with at least 248 rushing yards. Jalen Wright has 435. Jabari Small has 317. And then Dylan Sampson has 248. But A&M's been really good at stopping the run. 84 yards rushing per game allowed, 8th in the nation, and 2.61 yards per carry allowed per game, 6th in the nation.
This is what worries me, all right? Tennessee, yeah, they rely on the run, but they can throw.
Yeah.
And A&M can't stop the throw.
Exactly.
So how do they stop the throw?
That's a big question because like 53% of Tennessee's plays are runs, so the 47 are passes. So it's not like they only run. They also pass. They have Joe Milton, who's a really, really great – or he has a really great arm. He hasn't been amazing at the deep ball, but he has an amazing arm, as we know.
And they've only been sacked 5 times. By the way, A&M has gotten to the quarterback 7, and 6 times in SEC games. Something we'll have to end there. All right, thank you so much for your time.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
You, Ethan.
Thank
All right.
you.
We will come back mañana. Got a lot of guests. I don't remember who they are, but they'll be good, I promise. See you then.